And call the meeting to order, please. Anybody hear me? Okay.
Check.
First item is an invocation by Pastor David Murphy of the Bapside Community Church, and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, let's pray together. Lord, thank you for this beautiful day and this crisp morning. As we open our eyes and see the rising of the sun, we're reminded of your goodness, of your kindness, of your mercy in our life. And Lord, we just pray today. We pray for this gathering. We pray for our leaders, Lord. Your word tells us that when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. So I pray for wisdom in everything that they do, decision making. And Lord, we pray and we put this day and this time in your hands. Lord, whether we people of faith or not, Lord, we ask for your grace today on us all. We love you, we thank you, and we pray this in the wonderful name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I still think we should sing God Bless America. Go for it. It seems
okay, thank you. Next up is, are there any changes to the agenda? County Administrator.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. There are several changes recommended. First, to the consent agenda under Financial Management, item number 19. Special Election Resolution R-19-013 regarding ballot questions for Parish Fire District. Section 1 of the resolution was updated to read, quote, placement of ballot questions on ballot. The ballot question is set forth in Exhibit A, attached here to and incorporated herein by reference, shall be placed on the ballot for the special election on March 12, 2019, or on such other dates set by the Manatee County Supervisor of Election, and the cost of which will be borne by the Parish Fire District, end quote. Second item is the Public Works, item number 29, Gateway Commons of Manatee County, LLC, reimbursement agreement for Buffalo Road at Moccasin Wallow Road, water main. The County Attorney's Office response memo was added to the agenda item. Those are suggested changes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any requests by commissioners for items to be pulled from the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I would like some information on number 15. I don't know that we have to pull it, but number 15. Thank you.
Okay, when we get to that, we will take a look and see where we're at with that.
So 11:30, Mr. Chair, then?
Excuse me?
Is that what you're saying, 11:30 then, for 15?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, next up is awards. Retirement award, Judy Mullen, who's...
Yay, Judy.
Ava's on her way down.
Good morning, Commissioners, County Attorney, and County Administrator, Mr. Hunziker. Judy Mullen, Ava Eady, Neighborhood Services Director. Judy Mullen is the first person I met when I came here to Manatee County, and she has become very much like a sister to me. I have been ever so grateful to have her in my life, her and her husband, David. Judy has been with the county libraries 17 years now, and she brought a wealth of experience, and she is that dedicated human that goes out and finds all those little T's that need to be crossed and I's that need to be dotted. She took care of all kinds of the uniquely weird parts of our collection, like the government documents, and that have a special classification, and she made sure that all of those things were done every day. The things that a lot of us just want to take care of the big picture things, Judy's that person that you want on your team to make sure that all of those things don't fall through the crack that could. And that's been a blessing to us. She is also in her private life one of those amazing people that you call when you have home improvement needs. Who knew? She's the lady you want to find at Home Depot. She'll tell you what to buy, how to fix it, and how to go about it, and come and stand by you and make sure it gets done. It's outstanding how she does that. It's just fun. She's a fix-it human. She really is, and that's just how she approaches life. It's how she approaches her gardening. It's how she approaches her cooking. It's how she approaches her work and her friendships and her faith. And she is that person, and I have been very blessed to have her in our world. I'm a little surprised that she's retiring because it just doesn't seem like time. And so I'm going to turn it over to Glenda Lammers, our interim library manager, to share a little bit more. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Glenda Lammers, interim library services manager. I'll wave to all of you. I haven't known Judy very long, since I haven't been here that long. But one of the things that I always notice about her is that she's always smiling. You're smiling, aren't you? she's always smiling, and there's never been a day where I haven't asked her for her assistance that she hasn't given it to me, or for her ideas that she hasn't given it to me. The one thing that she has not done quite yet, but retirement is not until Saturday. Saturday? She hasn't found a replacement. And I think that that's something that she should probably be working on in the next 5 days. So anyway, we are going to miss Judy, just like Ava said. And now I'm going to ask Kathy, her supervisor, to come talk. Thank you.
Good morning, Kathy Laird. I'm supervisor at Braden River, and I've had Judy as my right hand for the last 15 years, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do without her. We've been a team for so long. Forever. And I have a friend in Judy that I know I'll never lose. She's warm-hearted. She's empathetic. She's great at reference and all the stuff she does around the library. As Ava said, she's our fix-it lady. She can figure out ways to handle all these little problems that come up, and we're going to miss her dreadfully. I've made a list. Did you want to say anything? Sure.
Well, apparently I'm wonderful.
It's good to know, isn't it?
Been waiting all these years for them to say that, right?
I know. You get ready to leave and you find out that you're wonderful. So it has been a great career with Manatee County. It's been 17 years, but it's been a moment. This is my third career, and I will have to say that I've loved every day of it. I've come to work with a smile and gone home with a smile. And the people that I've met, both working with them and the county people, have just been a joy. So I'm not going to crawl off. I'm going to still be here, still be a librarian, still be helping at the library in a volunteer capacity, and just opening myself up to spending more time doing other things and being with my husband David and our 2 cats.
Nice.
So you'll still see me around, but I want to thank you because you've made working for the library really rewarding. The support you've given the library has been amazing, and I'm sure you will continue to do that. And I guess I better get busy and find that replacement because I've only got a few days. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Whitmore.
Judy. Judy, we have more cats since you are retired now. If you want more, I'm sure we can get you a good rate on about 100 of them. But I mean, if you'd like. And also, we're building, as you know, a new library in Lakewood Ranch, and I'm sure they could use your expertise as volunteer if you feel like it. I consider you a friend. I know you from another world, and I know the smiling and always talk like a librarian ever since I met you, always. But I also know you're a fighter, and I consider you a friend, and I sent you a little note last night, you know that. But best of luck, and I'm sure we won't see the last of you. I'm sure you'll be back. And again, David, if you want more cats, I'll make sure you get them. Thank you, and God bless you, and everybody I know wishes you best.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay, Mr. Palmer has a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Judy, I've known you and David for, I was just sitting here calculating, roughly 20 years, I think. I think that David will confirm that you're wonderful. I don't know. But congratulations to you. You know, your laugh has always been so contagious, and Judy, I've always looked upon you as a real class act, and so, I wish you and David the best in this next phase. Congratulations to you.
Very cool. Thank you very much for all your years of service, and glad to hear you're still going to be around helping us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. We're going to miss you. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'll be up. Love you. Good luck.
Congratulations, we're going to miss you, but I'm glad to hear you're still going to be around.
You need me, let me know.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
Honey, congratulations.
Oh, thank
I'm envious of you retiring. Enjoy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Try a fourth.
Yes, right.
Congratulations. Enjoy. Thank you all for being here. Big day.
Yeah, yeah. I meant public. I heard that lady.
Yes, I did see.
Thanks for pointing me out.
For the dog. And then yelling in the background.
I finished the book. I guess I may put it back in.
Actually, I'm a very messy eater.
I've never met.
I didn't know I was that messy, but
But I copied you.
she said I could have made
So I kept her in the loop because that's what happened.
But what I'm saying,
That's really familiar from somewhere else, so too.
take those steps. I probably had to reach out.
Okay, next item up is the certificates of appreciation from the USDA on Natural Resources Conservation Services. I believe Mr. Hunsinger.
I'm observing today. Charlie Hunsaker, Natural Resources. I will say that it's not often that we are able to successfully partner with and take advantage of the services of the United States Department of Agriculture through the Natural Resource Conservation Service. And these two employees that we hope to honor today are actually, carried in part by Manatee County, but also take their direction in part from the Natural Resource Conservation Service of the United States Department of Agriculture, here to help all of us. So, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Crystal Snodgrass, Ag and Extension Division Manager under Parks and Natural Resources. As Charlie said, we have a special unit called our Soils Unit that is housed down in Lakewood Ranch. So you may not be too familiar with the faces of these two people behind me, but I can assure you they're doing some really amazing things for Manatee County. As Charlie mentioned, they work in partnership with the USDA NRCS, also with the Manatee River Soil and Water Conservation District in Manatee County. And some of the things that they do, they provide conservation assistance for our producers and landowners, and they also provide education on water, soil, and natural resources conservation. And they also do some really excellent youth programs called like Envirothon and soil and land judging, which takes place annually. And they're here today because they received a special award and recognition from the USDA. And they also have some extra special skills. I have to mention that David Outerbridge, he is our internal IT guy. Everybody needs like a in-house IT guy. That would be David. And Gail is our proofreader extraordinaire. She finds everything, even if it's gone through 5 people, she finds the mistakes. I believe she even found one down here downtown this morning up on the wall. So I'd like to now turn it over to Gail and David and just talk a little bit more about their services and what they do and the special recognition they've received. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Gail Shamodi, Soil Conservation Supervisor with Manatee County. And so the award, the certificate that we were given covered the year of federal fiscal year 2018, and we were awarded by the USDA, Natural Resources Conservation Service. And my particular certificate was given for assistance with helping applicants to Farm Bill program to become eligible and to increase the to make the NRCS be able to meet the goals of the office and meet deadlines. And the there's conservation technical assistance is provided, which is a free service, and then also through the Farm Bill, these conservation programs that farmers and ranchers can sign up for assist by implementing conservation practices that address resource concerns. Thank you.
Good job.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you? David Outerbridge, Soils Unit. Yes, my certificate was for creating an outreach program for the NRCS to help improve our outreach and engage farmers and private landowners so that we can improve the conservation value of private lands within Manatee County. And we went from having 0 contracts to about 7 contracts within Manatee County. That covers hundreds of acres and helps improve the value of the land, as well as helping the farmers with technical assistance, help design things so that they're doing the practices in the right way. And long may it continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Trace?
Never worked closely with David. Gail and I worked together on a lot of projects for more years than probably either one of us wanted to say. And I do know that she's a tremendous employee. And when Gail says she's going to do something, you walk away and you don't worry about it because it gets done. So I'm sure she's good at proofreading. And I've always enjoyed and got you on the calendar for the tour. So, see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ball.
Yeah. I just wanted to say congratulations. When you get an award like that, it's not an easy task. And you are out east, and I know that you have a lot of work to do out there. So I'm just very proud to have you before us today, and I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Next, United Way Suncoast, recognition of Manatee County government employees.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Palmer, Mr. Hunsiger. Thank you for your time this morning. In my position with United Way Suncoast, my name is Katie Becker. I'm the Senior Corporate Relationship Manager. I have the privilege to spend my time with people across our community who have a sincere passion to give back, to do more for others, and to give their time and valuable resources to make a difference. In my time with Manatee County United Way Suncoast, going on 7 years now, I have not seen a harder working, more generous group of individuals like the volunteers here at Manatee County government. Beyond their contributions as individuals, they come together across their departments, join with employees county-wide throughout the workforce to raise much-needed funds and volunteer their valuable personal time to make an impact greater than themselves. Today, I am honored and appreciate the pleasure to give special thanks and recognition to Julie Spicer and Sable Santana, who unfortunately wasn't able to be here today, for their leadership of the overall United Way campaign, as well as every one of the department captains you see behind me for their leadership and commitment within each department to drive the United Way campaign, to join United Way, to make an impact, to fight for education and financial stability for every person and every community we serve. And I'd like to thank every Manatee County government employee who chose to contribute and to invest in our community. It is my pleasure to award Manatee County government employees and volunteers with the second most generous workplace award for their tremendous contribution to our community and for joining United Way. Julie Spicer.
Julie Spicer, County Administration, Countywide Captain. Good morning, Commissioners, County Attorney, County Administrator. It's an honor to accept this award on behalf of the generous employees of Manatee County government. Successful United Way campaigns have two things in common: good planning and employee participation. Special events are an opportunity to add a little something extra to the campaign. Not only do they raise extra funding, but they're instrumental in team development and great for spirit and morale. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the dedicated department captains. This wonderful group behind me. They give of their time, energy, and effort to manage spectacular United Way events that we all enjoy every year. Events like the golf tournament, utilities equipment rodeo, the Public Works cookout, the holiday gift fair, and carols in the courtyard, just to name a few. So thank you, captains. Thank you for your hard work, your creativity, and thank you, administrators and management, for your support that empowers us to serve and give back to our community. Thank you.
Good job, Julie.
At this time, I'd like to also invite Bronwyn Baytal, our Manatee Area President, and Debbie Tapp, our Manatee Area Board Chair, to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. We appreciate this time before you, because we just had the opportunity to thank some incredibly wonderful team members, but we also realize as a United Way that that doesn't happen by accident. There is some true servant leadership and a turned outward approach, asking what team members' aspirations are, asking what community members' aspirations are to be able to get to this point. And since 2007, you have one incredible team leader and one incredible servant leader among you, and he doesn't know this is happening today, that our United Way Board would like to thank and acknowledge for what you have done for this community, not only personally, but by raising up a team that feels empowered to make decisions that benefit our entire community. Thank you very much, Ed Hunsaker, for your past, since 2007, you have served the United Way Board, this community, and this team that you have built that will last for generations, that spirit of community giving. You have helped raise $1.2 million for this community through your work, and this contribution has impacted thousands of lives and been invested in educational strategies that give children the skills to succeed and help adults achieve financial stability. Your leadership of the United Way campaign and support as United Way Suncoast board member has transformed this community and instilled a deep-rooted culture of community service here in Manatee County government. On behalf of the United Way's Suncoast Board of Directors, we are proud to recognize you for this important work, and thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your years of participation and of service. And for me personally, I just admire the work that you do and how you go about it, and the team that you have built. And we have enjoyed the benefit of that kind of collaborative spirit and innovation as true partners, not just partners in name, but partners in real word and deed. So thank you so much for that. We have two things we would like to present both to the team. Thank you, team. Thank you for the leadership. And to Mr. Hunsaker, if you would come down.
That's a nice little thing.
You got it. Thank you very much. Oh, my.
Whoa, that's cool.
Pretty nice, Commissioners.
Yeah.
And they did surprise me. And it couldn't happen without a team. Nobody does things alone, and it's the team here that I'm so proud of and the things that they do. Julie has put together quite a team here. They all just do marvelous things in their departments and countywide, and I couldn't be more proud of them. Thank you very much.
This will be standing on a chair.
Good, the iPhone.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Ed. Congratulations. And let's hope the staff continues to stay very involved with the United Way. Very worthy organization and very critical for the success of Manatee County. Next up is the presentation of awards to commissioners serving on various boards. Not sure who. Are you in charge of that, Ed?
I need a hearty handshake from the
Board.
chair.
I was going to say, how about if we just go past that one?
I got my hearty handshake. I'm done.
I don't know, Mary Ann's been working on it. Where is Mary Ann?
Yeah, well, we can get it up in our office. I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
I know that, but
Oh.
she was down there, so
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Moving on.
Mary Ann does it.
We should.
Chair does.
Well, reading here, I think the three people recognized commissioners would be Priscilla Trace as last year's county chair, Vanessa Baugh, who was the chair of the Port Authority, and Carol Whitmore, who was the chair of the Tourist Development Council. So I think all three of them should get a round of applause for their service. Didn't know I was presenting that one, but we'll get through it. Next, presentations. Manatee County Search and Rescue. So nice to see presentations with people with shirts that are not here to discuss other topics.
Not red.
Orange. Can handle it. Government buses. There are some right out there.
Okay. How do we switch to where I'm able to? Oh, there we go. Wonderful.
Magic.
Like it was designed to do that.
You didn't know that?
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Palmer, Mr. Hunsaker. My name is John Elwood. I'm the Deputy Chief in charge of operations with Manatee County Search and Rescue. And it was a little over a year ago we were in front of you in which our group received an award from Bullard Thermal Imaging Company for saving a young child's life that was missing. So we wanted to come before you again and reacquaint you with the services that we provide to Manatee County. So originally, Manatee County Search and Rescue was founded in 1999 as a wilderness search and rescue team as a subsidiary of the EMS Auxiliary. Robert Day, Chief Larry Liu, and Mr. John Osborne back there were the founding members of Manatee County Search and Rescue. In 2008, we rebranded and became our own 501c3, which allowed us to solicit funds. We provide specialized equipment and training not provided by local public safety agencies. We're very proficient in land navigation using a compass or GPS and various types of maps. So the agencies we support, Manatee County Sheriff's Office, Colonel Dennison sends his regrets. He's not able to be here today due to the Sheriff's Office award ceremony. Chief Bevan and Chief Kramer also called me at the last minute yesterday afternoon and sent their regrets. They had a scheduling conflict. Chief Tokager from Holmes Beach is here today. Chief Bailey and Chief Williamson from Parish Fire District were supposed to be here, along with Chief Rampino from North River. Chief Blanco from Southern Manatee is here. Chief Liu from Manatee EMS, and Chief Lichhauser from Emergency Management. There are public agency partners that we work with extensively that we help to support and augment their forces. So our training, Manatee County Search and Rescue is very, very proud of the fact that we have achieved 100% NIMS compliant, which is the National Incident Management System, which you know by Presidential Directive number 5 after 9/11, the President declared that everybody needs to function under NIMS along with the Incident Command System. So these are the types that we have gained compliance for. In addition, we're very, very fortunate that Manatee County Search and Rescue has 3 North American Search and Rescue instructor and evaluators, which no other SAR team in the state of Florida has. As well as we have several of our members are certified in several of the ICS position-specific disciplines. So what do we provide? We provide personnel. We're a force multiplier that has special skills and sets that are not commonly found in public safety. We have specialized equipment such as canines. We have 5 certified canines through the North American Police Working Dog Association. We have 1 canine that's certified in rubble by FEMA. We have a command trailer, 4 staff vehicles that allow us a very rapid response in the county. We have a support vehicle that has varying rescue equipment, and I'll break these down a little bit further. We have 2 thermal imaging cameras that allow us to help search for victims at night. We have 4 automated external defibrillators, or AEDs, in which we provide basic life support, and we have a shallow water response boat. The other thing that we do is during EOC activations, we staff the emergency support function number 9 for search and rescue at 0 cost to the taxpayers. And the majority of our membership, over 90% of our membership, are made up of current or former or retired public safety employees in law enforcement, firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, and military. For myself, I did 35 years with Sarasota County Fire Department, where I served as the operations chief, as the number 2 chief in the department. And then I'm also still currently a reservist in the United States Coast Guard. So in 2018, we had over 62 events and incidents. We had over 11 missing persons, 2 medical standbys. I'm not going to bore you with all the details. You all have these presentations in front of you, and you can read that at your leisure. But the most important thing for you to understand is that we provided almost 1,400 hours of community service to the citizens of Manatee County at 0 charge. In Sarasota County, they have a search and rescue group that gets paid $30,000 by Sarasota County to provide the services that we provide to the citizens of Manatee County at 0 cost to the taxpayer. So what can we really provide? Canines. Right now we currently have 5 certified canines in live find. They're tracking dogs. We have 3 more canines in training. We do have a rubble dog that was with the Louisiana Task Force in the USAR system. And we have 4 human remains canines that are in training right now, 2 of which will certify next month in the middle of the month. We just recently acquired a rescue boat. Our original rescue boat was destroyed in an accident as it was coming. I know, Karma, I'm boring you.
Oh, he's bored.
I'm sorry, sweetheart.
He says, come on.
She talks quite a bit, and she's kind of my barometer. We're very, very proud of this vessel. It took us over a year to reacquire a new one because of litigation with the insurance company. We were struck by a distracted driver who was texting and driving. But it's currently housed at North River Fire District Station number 3, which is only 2 blocks from the boat ramp that allows us a very timely response. The next vehicle, our light military transport vehicle, we procured through the Florida Division of Forestry through their military surplus program. What makes this very unique, it's an all-wheel, all-terrain vehicle, but it allows us to access remote areas of the county, but more importantly, to traverse high water. As you commissioners are very well aware, I'm sure you receive complaints almost after every rainstorm about subdivisions that flood. In the event that law enforcement, fire, EMS needs to access one of these subdivisions but cannot, we're on call. This vehicle is only one of 3. West Manatee, Manatee County Search and Rescue, and East Manatee have a high water vehicle. So we're available 24/7 for that, and it's stored currently at Parish Fire District. Our rescue squad is a quick response vehicle that carries a myriad of rescue equipment. We also have a quite extensive suite of basic life support equipment, but we also have a 10-foot Zodiac boat that's inflatable along with a tiller motor that's a jet drive, so that way there's no propeller. And it also serves as a prime mover for several of our trailers, and it's stored at Southern Manatee Station number 4. Our command trailer, which was graciously donated by Parish Fire District, it serves as our command and control platform for either prolonged incidents or incidents that such as the row and run or things of that nature that we need rehab facilities, but it gives us a work area, and it's equipped with a kitchen, a shower, and a toilet facility, and it's stored at Southern Manatee Station number 4. Our Project Lifesaver is something that we're very proud of because to the south of us in Sarasota County, it's run by the Sarasota Police Department, in which they have a full-time patrol officer dedicated to that program. This program was founded in Chesapeake, Virginia by law enforcement, and it's for people that, are you from there?
Yes.
Oh, I'm a fellow Virginian as well.
All right.
I was born in Fairfax, but I digress. The program is for people that have some type of cognitive impairment, whether it's Alzheimer's and dementia or autism, in which they wear, it's about the size of a wristwatch, and some of them, we put a face on it as a decal that looks like a watch. And in the event that they wander off, when they call 911 and law enforcement responds, we get notified, we respond with them, and that person has their own individual radio frequency. So if you see in the picture, Sheena right here, she's wearing the transmitter on her wrist, and her husband Jared, who's a Manatee County Sheriff's deputy, he has the receiver. And we launch a 2-prong approach. We send a dog, and then we have crews with the radio directional finder, and it's just a race to see who finds the subject first. But currently right now we have 28 clients in which, again, there is no burden to the taxpayer, unlike in Sarasota, the citizens in Sarasota pay for that. The only thing is there's just a subscription fee which basically costs for the maintenance of the device. So in the future, we just want to continue with our public safety partners. We want to be responsive to their needs. At least once a year, we meet with them and find out how we're doing, what can we do better, and what further services we can offer. And we seek funding streams and continue to grow our membership. So that's it as far as our brief presentation of what we offer the citizens of Manatee County, and I'd like to entertain any questions that you may have.
Don't see any. All I would add is it seems like every night on the news lately somebody's getting lost out there, and it's, people like you all that have to go out there and try to find them. And it's, I don't know if it's the news, the state of the world today, but it's amazing how often, a young child or somebody with Alzheimer's or something goes out and disappears. And I thank you on behalf of the rest of the commissioners for all that you do, in helping protect the society, and especially all those people that need it here in Manatee County. And thank you for coming today.
Oh, you're most welcome. I believe Chief Tokinger and Chief Lichhauser just wanted to say a couple comments.
Good morning, Chief Bill Tokinger, Holmes Beach. We have partnered with Manatee Search and Rescue. They help us in any area we need. It is such a worthy organization that I have 2 of my officers that are members of their team. They also, they didn't mention, but they did a great job of gathering items to bring up to the Panhandle, and they took a trip up there on their own dime and, gathered up enormous amounts of, necessary things. So any help that the county can give to them would be greatly appreciated. So thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Bill.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Mr. County Administrator, Mr. County Attorney, Steve Lichhauser, Acting Chief with Emergency Management. And I just want to Just touch base of what John told you. All their services are free to Manatee County. They're a great county resource. As he said, they staff one of our desks during activation, but more than activation, they're one of our great partners. They come in and help us give community input to the various plans we write. They come in, and matter of fact, John has taken the lead to teach one of the ICS courses that otherwise would cost us thousands of dollars, that he's coming in and taking the lead and soliciting instructors. And the work they do from day to day, they're just a great community partner, and we'd like to thank them and y'all for supporting them. Thank you.
Okay. Absolutely.
Thank you. Rick Blanco, I'm the Deputy Chief of Operations for Southern Manatee Fire Rescue. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. I just want to echo everything you've heard here. As a member of the fire districts, we do everything we can to share resources, and this is one of the best search rescue teams that we've ever been able to lay eyes on. And with all due respect to the previous teams and what they try to do, put together and assemble, Chief Elwood has just really come together with the entire crew. You know, during that last Hurricane Irma, we had them set up out of one of our stations that they're ready to go. We keep them on our phone. I wish I could just call them through the radio system and ECC be able to dispatch them like that. But there's a lot to be said about volunteerism, not just in this county, but in our nation. 70% of the fire service today is still made of volunteerism. And that's what you see right here. And everybody coming out of public safety, which is number one in our lives and what we do. And again, any support you can give this team, a recognition for this team, doesn't just help them, law enforcement, EMS, our citizens. That is our concern. So I, again, just want to echo that and thank these gentlemen for being here and ladies. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Benak.
Yeah, I want to say thank you. I think it's amazing what you do, and I can tell you enjoy it. I can tell you like this. And we have so many great places to go and get lost in Manatee County. I myself got lost when I first got my kayak. I took it out on the Braden River Christmas afternoon, and I was totally lost. You know, you get caught back in the wetlands, and somebody really... and I didn't have anything with me to tell me where I was. So luckily I was able to just finally go to shore and call someone and say, you got to come pick me up. I have no idea where I am. But I know that there was recently a young lady and her mother were lost in the Chance Preserve. Yeah. They were horseback riding, and they were only able to be found with drones. Do you all make use of drones in your?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am, we do. And then also in partnering with Southern Manatee, you guys are up to 4 now?
What, 4? They
have 4 drones that also have thermal imaging capabilities. So at night, while our drone does not, because everything that we do, we procure our equipment either through grants or fundraising. Southern Manatee, we have access through them that theirs has thermal imaging, so they'd be able to find somebody at night. But we do have drone capability. And then also through a mutual aid agreement with Southern Manatee, we'd be able to utilize them as well.
And if I might just speaking of the drones, that again, another resource that's used by all the fire districts through the hazmat team, because that's what the drones are attached to, through your hazmat team, and the support and funding we do receive from you, that we use that in partnership with search and rescue. So it's just a great compilation of sharing all these resources rather than creating monster resources. So
thank you for what you guys do. It's really appreciated.
Very much. We appreciate the time.
Commissioner Ball, I think we've got a couple.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I think you guys do amazing things, amazing work. But when I sit from up here and I look down at you and I realize that you're all volunteers, that puts it on another level as far as I'm concerned. That you are willing to take your time away from your families and do for others the way that you do and work with our fire districts the way you do and the EOC. You know what? You guys are like gold. And I'm sure this board, we all feel that, any way that we can help you, please let us know. And we just so appreciate you and what you do. And so thank you from one Virginian to another. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Attorney Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for all you guys do. How do individuals contribute money to your organization?
We have several fundraising events, but we're just a regular nonprofit. And if you go to our website, you can, there are our physical addresses there. Somebody could mail in a check if they wanted.
So there's a website.
Yes, sir. And it's ManateeCountySAR.org.
Great, thank you.
You're most welcome. And then, we're all at a lot of the Manatee gatherings, like the Adopt-A-Palooza, the Goblin Gathering, the night before Christmas. So you'll see us out and about as you go about your events as well. So you'll see us there. We were just recently at the big truck event that they had at the library. We were there. We had several vehicles on display, plus the big truck that you saw in the presentation. So you'll see us out and about in the county participating and just doing whatever we can to be part of the community that we love and enjoy.
Thank you. Commissioner Whitmore.
And just real quick, I think you guys, I think maybe every year it would be good for you to come to, because this does get broadcast and the media is here too. So they have access and they can also donate. I don't think the county needs to reinvent the wheel. I think you guys are doing it great on your own in a nonprofit, and you've got all the law enforcement on your back. So I appreciate it, and all your capital that you have. That's a good thing. So I don't know if you want to introduce your new guy.
Oh, sure.
The one that grown.
Karma, come here.
You may want to tell him about him.
Absolutely. This is Karma, and she is a long-hair, red sable German Shepherd. Try saying that 3 times fast, right? And Karma is one of our tracking dogs. She does live find. So if I have an article of clothing, it could be anything that you've worn. But even recently, we went to a call last year in which the proverbial Mr. Smith wandered off while Mrs. Smith was in the store. Well, there was no article of clothing, but I was able to get a scent from the car seat he was sitting in.
Oh, yeah.
And then he was found successfully.
Wow.
So to her, it's just a big game of hide and seek. She really enjoys her job. She's just praise driven. She just likes getting a bunch of scratches and snuggles. And I can't say anything bad about her. She's a rescue. I got her from Tampa Bay German Shepherd Rescue, in which I paid, the adoption fee, and then I trained her. She's such a stable animal. She does helicopters, fixed wing aircraft, gunfire. She's just nice and steady, and she just loves kids. So she's one of, like I said, one of the 5 that we have that's certified, and then we have more dogs that are in the training pipeline that will be certified later this year. So as you heard, like I said, she kind of keeps me on task. She's like, come on, Dad, let's go pick up the tapes here. So,
we need one of those up here.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Again, we thank you all for your support and just being able to come here. And if you would like, after the first of every year, we'll be happy to come and address you and give you an update on the stats for the previous year.
Yeah,
Great.
that'd be cool.
Again, thank you all very much for your time. We know you have a lot of business to conduct, and we will get out of your proverbial hair.
Very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn.
I move we motion for the proclamations. We adopt
Second.
proclamations.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Accepted. Gulf Coast Games for Life.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chair, County Attorney, County Administrator, Matt Porter, Recreation Manager for Parks and Natural Resources. I'm here to announce a proclamation for the 30th Annual Gulf Coast Games for Life, which will be held February 2nd through the 10th. We've always partnered with Sarasota County. This will actually be the first year we're including the city of Northport. We're adding 2 additional games with that and expanding our reach for athletes. Behind us, I have a couple of the event directors as well as participants. I really just want to stress the importance. Our event directors, majority of them are volunteers, and without them, the games would not be possible. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of time to put these games on, and they've been a tremendous help for us. Okay.
So it's my honor to read this proclamation from the Board of County Commissioners, Manatee County, Florida. Whereas Gulf Coast Games for Life serves over 500 senior athletes, providing a vehicle for senior citizens to participate in an Olympic-style sporting competition each year. And whereas the Manatee County Parks and Natural Resources Department, in partnership with Sarasota County Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources, and the City of Northport Parks and Recreation, provides an opportunity for seniors to adopt a healthy lifestyle through personal fitness so that they remain active and enjoy their lives to the fullest. And whereas the Manatee County Parks and Natural Resources Department, in partnership with Sarasota County Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources Department, and the City of Northport Parks and Recreation, promotes a celebration of sportsmanship, camaraderie, and competition among the community's senior population of 50 and older. And whereas the Gulf Coast Games for Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year and providing fun, fitness, and fellowship for a generation of champions, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Manatee County, Florida, that February 2nd through 10th, 2019 shall be known, designated, and set aside as Gulf Coast Games for Life Week in Manatee County, Florida, to acknowledge and honor the senior population for its achievements and inspiration during this week-long event. Adopted with a quorum present and voting this 29th day of January 2019, signed by Stephen R. Johnson, Chairman, and Angelina Coloniso, our Clerk of the Circuit Court. Congratulations.
As the only senior here in the group, I can say that it's been a successful organization running for so many years, and I can't help but just kind of put in a little plug here. Our most popular event, of course, has become pickleball.
Yeah.
And it's there all the time. So thank you so much for the proclamation and for your continued support year in and year out. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys for your volunteerism too. I assume you guys are the volunteers.
Yeah.
The next one is Black History Month.
I know, right?
I know.
Mr. Chair, fellow commissioners, before I read the proclamation, I will like to say that I'm having a little moment here as I reflect on where I've come from, serving my country as a graduate of Bethune-Cookman University, and to stand here and have the ability to read the proclamation for Black History Month. I tossed and turned on this last night, and I was very, very nervous, but I feel honored. I feel honored and think back where I am and being a part of this community and all the things that I've endured coming from where I am right now. This just gives me great honor to have an opportunity to read this. So I'm a little emotional. Proclamation, Board of Manatee County Commissioners, Manatee County, Florida. Whereas, that's too low.
You're too tall.
Black History Month dates back to 1926 and observes African American achievements, and whereas Black History Month celebrates the achievements and contributions of African Americans in the United States, and whereas Black History Month's intent is not only to increase the knowledge of Black history in Black communities, but also to spread the issue to American society as a whole, and whereas all members of the nation are affected by Black history because it is a part of American history, which should be celebrated by everyone. And whereas Black History Month has become a symbolic time period in which the appreciation and celebration of African Americans begin every year and continues all year. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Manatee County, Florida, that February 2019 shall be known, designated, and set aside as Black History Month in Manatee County, Florida, and the Board further calls upon the people of Manatee County to recognize this special observance with appropriate ceremonies and activities, adopted with the quorum present and voting this 29th day of January 2019. Board of County Commissioners, Manatee County, Stephen R. Johnson, Chairman, and Angelina Coloniso, Clerk. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before Reggie escapes,
Woo.
Commissioner Bellamy,
I just want to say that, some of us attended the event at the Palmetto Youth Center for Martin Luther King Day. And I want to say you're doing an incredible job in your community, making sure that the young people do not misunderstand, do not lose sight of the battles that have come before on the changes that have been made in this community. And they always, every time I go and listen to those young people read their speeches and know the thought that has gone into preparing those, you're doing a great job in that community working with those young folks. And so I just want to congratulate you. I know it's Black History Month, but every year you demonstrate to the community that you're keeping everyone on track. You're making sure that people do not forget where they've been, what this country has gone through, and what folks can achieve if they keep the dream alive. So I just want to say congratulations to you.
That was good. Great job. Wait, Reggie?
The boss slipped in here.
Yeah, from some of the things that Commissioner Benak was saying, it just made me think of something else. And you know what? You do all those things in your community, and it's really wonderful for us to see and witness. But I think we also, or for me, what came to mind with everything you're doing is the way you go about doing it.
Amen.
You're a positive force, and you show the young people how important it is, to show professionalism, be educated. It's the image that you so project, and it's very, very nice, and it's going to really pay off. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is citizens' comments on future agenda items only. I have two people signed up who would like to make comments. The first one is Mr. Meehan, front and center, or to the side.
Front and center. Front and center. That was good. I've never heard.
Good morning and Happy New Year. Mike Meehan, Manatee County citizen. The City of New York about 30 days ago announced a $100 million initiative to deliver health care to their uninsured and lower income citizens. And so the thought immediately crossed my mind, why can't Manatee County do the same thing? So I put together a little proposal that I sent to you yesterday afternoon via the email. And it talks about an approximate $18.3 million expenditure, which could be divided among various healthcare providers here in the county. So the infrastructure is already in place here to do this tomorrow if you want to. But I talked in terms of funding Turning Points at $1.05 million, which would yield 7,000. That's right, 7,000 patient visits a year reimbursed at $150 a visit. Just general doctor offices funding at 1.5 would allow 10,000 patient visits. Dental offices, just general dentistry, again reimbursed $150 a visit, would yield 10,000 patient visits a year. Manatee Rural Health MCR, 1.8 million. Again, reimbursed at 150 would yield 12,000 visits a year. Then the hospitals for ER visits that result in a discharge, reimbursed at $500 an episode, would yield 5,000 visits to the ER. If they were admitted and paid $3,000 per stay, that would yield 1,500 visits. And for physicians treating at the hospital, reimbursed at $1,500 for the treatment period, that would yield 2,000 episodes with the physician. So I extended this also to Blake, and the total is $18.3 million for a 12-month period. That's a lot of patient visits, and I think it would go a long way to helping the people who are not on Medicaid and are, let's say, less than 200% of the poverty level. I don't know how many people in Manatee County fit that description, but I got to think it's at least 30,000 people fit that description. So they could go to these facilities, be treated, qualified at Manatee County or at the institution, pay for it with the interest earnings on our, right now we have $1.1 billion in cash in the Manatee County balance sheet as of December. So I just took an average of $900 million, and let's say it earns 2.2%. That's well over $19 million just in interest earnings. This could be the new trust fund. The earnings on the cash balance could be the new trust fund for health care in Manatee County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank
Carol?
you, Mike.
Thank you.
Any closed public comment, or is it okay to?
Well, I think the other ones are
Okay.
on another topic, and
Oh, okay. Mike, I got lost at certain points of it, but I read it. We spend about $27 million now in healthcare. Your proposal was $18 million. A lot of it, what we spend is state mandated, like paying Medicaid and all that. But I did write to administration, Ava, Joshua, Ed, Sherry, and Dan yesterday, and I said, can somebody, and Jan, the money person, and I said, can somebody look at this? It's always nice to have out-of-the-box thinking. And I didn't want all your work go for naught. So I did pass it on, but there are stuff that, as you know, we have to pay that are mandated by state. So keep the ideas coming, and I did pass it, and I'm expecting staff to look at it and maybe give me a response. Did pass it to Joshua and Sherry, who's got the history, and our fiscal person, definitely. So I did pass it along. Because you didn't copy any of them, just us.
okay, thank you. The next card I have is from Mr. Douglas Richards. Please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning, commissioners, town attorney, and staff. My name is Doug Richards. I live on Bay Drive, 3212 Bay Drive. I'm calling. I know that people have appeared at a couple of prior meetings to express concern about the duck hunting issue in Sarasota Bay. A couple of the people who I gather have spoken to the board live very close to me, but I wanted the board to understand that this is not an issue that just has very narrow application. I live quite a bit south of where the other people who spoke are, and I too heard the shotgun blasts in the morning, watched shotgun blasts and dead ducks falling out of the sky when I was trying to enjoy the sunset from my porch in early December, when children in the pools south of the 34th Street Canal were playing out by their pool in the evening. The hunters were going out and killing ducks that were falling on the sandbar that the children play on and kayak at. It's really, from my point of view, I have nothing against hunting, but hunting in close proximity to people's homes, where they and their children and their pets can hear the shotgun blasts out of the blue often when you're just cooking dinner or getting up in the morning. Suddenly you hear a shotgun blasting away within 50 yards, 100 yards of your home. This isn't just something that's been going on at Perico. As I say, I live close to the end of the 34th Street Canal. If you're familiar with that area where the 34th Street Canal goes out into the bay, there's a big sandbar there. It's something that the whole neighborhood has enjoyed for many, many years. Fishermen go out there. There's never been a problem with the fishermen. Everyone enjoys watching the fishermen there. The bird life there is almost like the Serengeti. There are thousands of birds that gather on that sandbar. It's just a beautiful, beautiful scene that everyone who lives along that bay really enjoys. And to have duck hunters wading around in 6 inches of water right off of people's properties and within 20 yards of their homes, blasting ducks and killing ducks and running to chase the ducks as the ducks come in at odd angles. Ducks don't always come in like airplanes in a perfect trajectory. Sometimes they come in low, sometimes they come in high. These guys come running out from behind their blinds with a shotgun, aiming the shotgun with families around and everything. It's really something that I would suggest the board should, if it possibly can, do something about. In the neighborhood, we're beginning to talk about putting up no trespassing signs and fences. A lot of that area is private property. from my reading of the law, that 34th Street Canal is not county property or state property. That is private property that belongs to the Wild Oaks development. Certainly the county has a right-of-way and an easement, but the county right-of-way and easement does not entitle duck hunters to go out there and, you know, cut across that property. And I think it'll be a shame if what happens is something that cuts down on the ability of fishermen to enjoy the property. You know, really a more targeted, appropriate way, I would suggest, of balancing the interests of everyone concerned, including the hunters, is to do what I gather the Perico people have proposed, which is some kind of radius regulation. You know, no hunting, at least with guns, within some number of yards, 100 yards, 200 yards, 300 yards. There's no magic to the distance, but a respectable distance from people's homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Charlie, would you like to make a comment on that at all, or? So I know we are looking at some options there, I believe. Our alternatives are.
Yeah, Charlie Hunsaker, Director of Parks and Natural Resources. It's a very complicated, right? That's the classic answer. But we have received an opinion from the County Attorney's Office about the limits of local authority, which are very stringent relative to the regulation of state-sanctioned hunting during the duck hunting season. I'm going to mention that unfortunately our solutions available to us at Perico and Perico Bayou are not necessarily available for the Sarasota Bay shore. We have been thinking in the Perico Bayou situation to limit motorized vessels over the seagrass beds of the shallow Perico Island, because we have a history and can show evidence of prop dredging and all the other things that happen with active boating over seagrass beds of Perico Bayou. By doing so, we'll in effect, hopefully, discourage those who hunt from John boat or motorized boat. Will not prevent, of course, anyone from wading in or coming in on a non-motorized vessel, be it rowboat, kayak, or canoe. I have to say that we share the residents' concern, especially as it relates to residents. The city of Bradenton thoughtfully, some time ago, disallowed the discharge of firearms within the city limits of Bradenton, which gives some protection there. But as to the greater Manatee County, standing in waters of the state, which are, and effectively, if your feet are wet, you're in waters of the state, you can participate in hunting. Hopefully with hunter education, a lot of folks will cite also, and it's an important thing to consider, that shotgun shell shot has a very limited range, unlike rifle, of course, or pistol. And so the pellet, the damages that pellets can do, while lethal to waterfowl within a certain distance, quickly fall off in terms of their velocity. But that's not to say that we share their concerns. I'm going to have to say from my standpoint, especially in the Perico Bayou, because we have 3 boardwalks that enter out onto the water where hunters are hunting, where our visitors often stand over the water, over the hunters. And that's a concern to me also. But Sarasota Bay presents particular challenges because we don't have the resplendent seagrass buffer locations. I don't believe that we could set aside for protection. Perhaps we do. But regulating the practice of the hunting itself, as the county attorney has opined, I don't know, Mickey, if you want to back me up here, it's just that not that you need to back me up, but if you can support that conclusion, it's very, very difficult for local governments to set certain conditions, hours, or limits, correct?
Especially if it's the season.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I'm happy to lend a little bit of assistance here to Charlie. My office has weighed in twice on this matter. We issued a written opinion memorandum in April of 2017 on the subject, and again on January 18 of this year, that being what, roughly 11 days ago. Charlie's right, it's a bit complicated. Quoting from portions of Assistant County Attorney Ann Morse's memorandum from just a few days ago, the regulation of the taking or possession of wildlife is expressly reserved to the state, as assigned to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. However, local governments do have the ability to regulate boating activities on navigable waterways. Specifically, Florida Statute 327.46 sub 1 sub C allows a county to establish a boating restricted area subject to approval of the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. So that is something that this board could possibly consider. Commissioners were copied on that memo from 11 days ago, if you want to spend some quiet time with it. Yes, our options are limited, but there's at least one thing that we can do locally, and that is to establish certain no boating areas, again, subject to the approval of the Florida FWC. They literally have to review the proposed ordinance and sign off on it.
Which has unintended consequences for fishermen. But again, and that's why we're going to shoot. We're going to strive to go for for motorized restrictions, allowing canoers, kayakers, john boat, rowboats, but not prop-driven motors that can scar and damage the seagrass resource that we're attempting to protect in areas where that protection is needed. I won't discount the resplendent seagrass communities along Sarasota Bay in certain locations, and perhaps we can take a look at that.
And let me add also that there are existing state statutes that regulate the discharge of firearms in the vicinity of or over residentially zoned properties. Existing state statutes that make that criminal conduct. And so in the appropriate circumstances, law enforcement can be notified and called upon. So all of these various things are talked about in the latest memo, but again, it's a combination of two memos wherein my office has weighed in on this subject, the first dating back to 2017.
Thank you. Commissioner Whitmore.
Well, when you say you're going to limit boats over Pericos due to the seagrass beds and stuff, and I understand what you're trying to do.
Just motors.
Yeah, but a kicker boat has a motor in the middle, and that's a fishing boat, and it actually can go in 6 inches of water draw. So you are affecting the fishermen, and I do have an issue with that, and I don't think he wants to limit that either, because that's why that kicker boat is so unique, because it can go in a 6 inches draw of water, and that's why they don't hurt the seagrasses, because they can go in such shallow water. So you will hurt that. And then Mickey, remember Jonathan Davis from Palmetto? I brought this up at the last meeting, said that he was stopped years ago when they were duck hunting at Emerson or someplace like that, and was told that there is a law that in Manatee County law, an ordinance that you couldn't you couldn't hunt what did he call shoreline birds, anything west of 41, and you had said, well, maybe there's new state laws that have changed since then. But you were going to research it and see if there was something that we did years ago, because Jonathan made a point of calling me. I don't know if he called anybody else, but he specifically remembers that. And actually, somebody from the state contacted them too and told them about it. So again, you were going to research it the last time we talked about it. I don't know if you did.
Okay, I'm happy to look into that. I wasn't aware that Commissioner Davis was in a position to give me assignments to do research.
No, I did. I brought it up at the last meeting and asked if you would look into it.
I've never heard of such a thing.
That's what you said at the last time.
I've never heard of such a thing, but if it's the general desire of this board, I'll be more than happy to look into that.
Mickey, I brought it up at the last meeting because the commissioner remembers it after he read about this in the paper, and I had asked you if you could have somebody to see if there's anything that maybe is on the books that shouldn't be, or if you can find any historical.
And it was his suggestion that this was a local ordinance?
He was told by, well, actually the state came down, but I'm not sure. He said it was west of 41.
I would be shocked to discover the
Well, that's
existence
what
of
you
such a
said
law,
last time.
but I will look
But
into
if you
it.
could look.
I will
Thank
look
you.
into it.
Thank you. You said that last time? Don't kill the messenger. I was just
Okay.
told about it, and we have all these people here.
Yeah, and I did read those memorandums, because this is an issue that we've heard about kind of repeatedly and have seen emails about it. And I did have a couple questions. So the prohibition of discharging a firearm in residential districts. So is when it comes to folks hunting on the beach, does that no longer, because that is the state, is that not prohibited? The question is, what is the edge of the residential district? You mentioned the city of Bradenton having, you said that. So
prohibition.
How would that be different, any different than the state law which prohibits discharging a firearm in a residential district? Because where we're hearing about it is in residential districts. So I guess I'm a little bit confused by that.
I can't shed any more light on it, other than that folks do cite that within the city of Bradenton limits, you can't discharge a firearm.
Well, you can't, according to state statute, in residential districts in Manatee County. So that's the part I'm.
And also, if I remember some of the details of the opinion, it relates to also a residential district is described as something where housing densities are less than or more than 3 units per acre or 4 units per acre. Certainly, a 5-acre property, even a 1-acre property has sufficient protections, buffers, I think, where target shooting can take place. But smaller, more dense neighborhoods, of course, that's where it enters in. There was one distinction like that, if I recall, Mr. Palmer.
Again, quoting from Attorney Morris's memorandum, quote, any person who recreationally discharges a firearm outdoors, including target shooting, in an area that a person knows or reasonably should know is primarily residential in nature and has a residential density of 1 or more dwelling units per acre commits a misdemeanor of the first degree. Florida Statute 790.15 sub 4.
Yeah, I read that and I remember it because I live on a 1-acre lot, and I wanted to remind my husband that I wasn't sure if it applied to BB guns or not, so I asked him to look into that. I do have a question also, because we do have, I've seen signs that are put up in bird areas that says no hunting. I see them throughout the county. There's places that are marked for no hunting and preserve area, and I don't know how that is done, but I would like to know how that's done. You know what I'm talking about? You see these signs that are in bird preserves? I've seen them in different areas along University Parkway even.
Right, you can designate.
It says no hunting, this is a bird preserve. And I was wondering, I mean, we have white pelicans that frequent Sarasota Bay. I would assume that they're somewhat protected, but
yes, they are.
Big assumption.
They are protected. Pelicans of both types, brown and white, are protected. Game fowl are defined in the statute with many species of ducks and ground birds as well, of course. But it's perhaps we can continue to look for those special area designations as you speak to, and for units that are 1 acre or less. Yes, what is the definition of property limit? Is it at the property line? Is it a distance from the property line? Are those things subject to interpretation by either the FWC or the courts in that matter, perhaps? Do you think another search is advisable to continue this quest for some clarification?
I think I, as a commissioner, would like to see more clarification on how you designate like a bird sanctuary and what are the limits. I understand we don't have any jurisdiction whatsoever from the shore out. I get that. You know, that's state jurisdiction, unfortunately. I don't know how they protect white pelicans at the same time you can be shooting at ducks. But honestly, I did not even know people shot ducks on saltwater. I come from Michigan. It's always been in freshwater. It's the first time I ever knew. And I've been duck hunting. I know exactly what he's talking about.
And of course, you're shooting on the wing as opposed to letting them land. And then, I think it's on the wing that you're allowed to hunt in that circumstance. I don't think you can just take a harvested duck when it's just swimming in front of you like that. I think it's on the wing. But nonetheless, I'm not a hunter myself. But
I am. But you're from Wisconsin, and you know how.
I do. Well, deer, no, I can. That's a different story. But
Charlie, is there in fact a duck hunting season?
Yes, there is.
You mentioned that early on in your commentary.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So there's a duck hunting season, and what is the season?
Well, it's lengthy. Some ducks are different seasons as they move through your migratory patterns, but it's normally November through the end of January.
So it's done.
In fact, January 31st being the close of mallard, I think, in this area, because it varies geography up and down the seaboard. But anyway.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Ball?
Thank you. You know, we're talking about something that we have no jurisdiction on. It's state regulated. I would suggest if a resident is concerned, if there's someone out there shooting a shotgun, probably not now because the season's over, I think, but, you know, in the future, the best thing to do is to call Fish and Wildlife. They can come out and they can issue a citation if they feel that the law has been broken. I can tell you I shoot birdshot in my shotgun every week. Not at ducks, at clays. But, you know, Charlie's right. The velocity on birdshot isn't very far. But if someone is shooting from the shore, that's a whole different ballgame, and that is something that Fish and Wildlife would probably be very interested in knowing, I'm going to assume, because that is, I think, against the law. And the other thing is, you know, anything that we might have on the books here in Manatee County, I don't think, and Mickey, this is a question for you. If we had a law on the books about duck hunting, and it's different from the state law, we couldn't supersede state law, can we?
No.
I mean, I was curious about that. I didn't think so, but is that?
No, we cannot enact an ordinance that conflicts with state law.
Okay.
Yes.
Seriously, I know we've had several people come before us, but the quickest remedy is to contact Fish and Wildlife. They have jurisdiction, we do not. If anyone is shooting from the shore, shame on them. You know, if they're in a boat, it's a different story. But definitely that should be looked into. And if I were you, I would call Fish and Wildlife. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you know, sometimes hunter education is a good tool. Oftentimes when we run a traffic detour through a neighborhood for a short term during construction on a roadway, it isn't long before you see signs popping up on people's yards, drive like your kids live here.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
And it gives a little thought about the courtesy and consideration of those. And you know, sometimes the HOAs might allow, I don't know how we would handle that in the right of way, but sometimes, you know, signage is appropriate too. Hey, do you know what you're doing here? You're hunting in a residential area. Can you find some location, terracea perhaps, that is out of the way, not next to someone's home, you know, to practice? But you know, we don't want to ban it. We don't want to, you know, I can't even discourage it in a way, but I'm hopeful that, and most hunters, of course, are. They're mindful of their surroundings. They're mindful of safety. And it isn't but a little measure to be courteous and considerate of people who live next door, basically. It's a plea to the hunters who do hunt. Help us out.
Commissioners, Attorney Morris has joined us in the event you wanted to direct any questions directly to her.
Just real quick, Charlie, please consider, before you put no motorized over the seagrasses, that you remember the commercial fishermen.
I certainly do, and I don't know how we can distinguish it, but as you're aware, we have resplendent prop scarring through Perico Bayou.
But you're not blaming.
No, I'm not blaming the.
But you are going to take a livelihood away of our locals if we do that.
In Perico Bayou.
Wherever there's seagrasses.
No, well, I know, but I mean, there's some places where it might be appropriate. You know.
So hopefully you'll let us know if you're going to do that, because I would support it.
It requires a public hearing.
Okay. Thank you.
And it requires very deliberate designations, signage, and et cetera.
Okay. Commissioner Benak?
I guess I would like to ask Ann, and I'm asking the board. I know we don't normally go into great detail, as long as she's here. If I could ask the No Hunting Bird Preserve, Do you know how that is established how you establish that?
I don't. I would have to defer to FWC. That's their authority to establish those zones.
Okay.
And there wasn't a whole lot of information on how to do so on their website or within their rules.
I don't. Charlie, do you know? I mean, you know, I don't know what I'm
I
talking
don't.
about.
I can also offer that I know that there's no hunting allowed in Florida state parks, and as opposed to wildlife management areas, which are established for hunting, but there are certain areas that the state has reserved for no hunting as well. And sometimes I feel that places like Robinson and Neal, Perico, Rye. Places that also should be treated in the same fashion as the state parks in this county.
Well, I would ask that our county attorney research that, and I'll shoot. I know I've seen them when I've been on my bike. So in places like Palm Air, I've seen these signs. So I think we need to find out more about how we could establish that and what our limits are to establish something as a no hunting bird preserve area. I recognize once you get in the waters of the state, we don't have any authority, but this is in other areas, so I just would like to know what how we would do that and whether or not it would make any effect.
Sure, and I did try to find some sort of guidance within the FWC. There's the state statutes that apply in the administrative code that guides a lot of what FWC does. For example, the no wake zone, the vessel exclusion zones, the Florida Administrative Code gives us guidance what we can do as a county to apply for those areas. But I think because hunting is preempted to fish and wildlife, there wasn't a whole lot of guidance for us. But I think once we get the ball rolling with the vessel exclusion zone, that could open the door to pursuing that option and seeing how we can work with FWC to establish that.
And Charlie, if I might, Charlie, you might want to ask even like the Audubon. I would bet Audubon, we have a great Audubon group here. They might know a little bit more about how some of this stuff is done. I mean, just thinking about that.
I wouldn't put too much regulatory effect on the bird sanctuary program. We had investigated that ourselves some time ago, and found it was more advisory than it was statute.
Well, maybe advisory might give advice to people to not hunt. That might be good advice. They might follow it.
Of course.
Okay. Ann, excuse me, Mr. Chair, Ann, were you listening to the conversation earlier about this supposed ordinance prohibiting hunting west of US 41?
I did hear a little bit about that. I am not aware that
Nor
we
am
had
I.
anything
While
on
I
the books.
rarely give assignments to my lawyers from the dais, in fact, this may be a first. Go ahead and add that to your list of subjects to look into, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I had asked
Poor
last
Dan.
time. I thought you'd already had. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just make a quick suggestion? 30 seconds, no more.
Okay, 30 seconds.
I understand the boating proposal, which might make great sense for Perico. When the hunters come to our area, they come by land, crossing private property without permission, carrying shotguns on people's private property to get to the water because there is no public property there for them.
That is clearly a trespass, and there are state statutes on the books addressing that.
Understood. One of the things that creates a complication there is you have the 34th Street Canal. Now, I know from my own research, because I'm a lawyer, that canal is privately owned by Wild Oak. It's on their plot. The county just has an easement over it. Their easement doesn't make it public land. And so I have been trying to get people to get together with the pieces of private property there and post them. But I would suggest that although you can't, I understand the perspective that you can't regulate shooting guns in the water, but couldn't there be a law prohibiting anyone in Bradenton, in the township of Bradenton, from crossing private land with a gun for the purpose of hunting without permission of the landowner? I don't understand how that could be prohibited. And that's probably all it would take, because then they would have to come by boat. They very seldom come by boat. They tend to come in the evening, I think after work. There's not a lot of time between the end of work and sunset. The law requires them to stop shooting at sunset. They're usually only there for about an hour and a half. It's a short window. If they had to come by boat, I think much of the time they wouldn't come because it'd be too much trouble.
I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm sorry, just a quick question from something that you just said. If they're coming and they're shooting from the shore, which is, from what I'm gathering you're saying, if they shoot a duck, they're shooting the ducks over the water, are they not?
They're over the sandbar.
Okay.
And they generally run out on the sandbar and claim them, but the sandbar is under the mean high water mark.
Yes.
So the sandbar itself is state property.
Well, I think there's already laws on the books as far as trespassing.
Oh,
It doesn't
yes.
matter whether you've got a shotgun or your intention is hunting. I mean,
Yes, I think people have been, in the neighborhood, have been reluctant to invoke those laws in part because of the fishermen, because they don't bother anybody. There are people who've been fishing there for 30 years.
what's
We'd
good
rather
for one
leave them
needs to be
alone.
the same across the board.
You know, since I've lived in that area for 40 years, I would suggest you get a hold of the Wild Oak Bay people like Stuart Smith and some of them, because I've gotten numerous emails from them on this subject, so they're pretty riled up
Well, I'm
about
in
it.
touch
And
with
if they're
Stu
using
Smith.
their property, I can't believe that they wouldn't want to work with you and put up a lot of no trespassing signs.
That's already
That sort.
it has to be posted.
A single phone call to law enforcement that results in an arrest of one of these trespassers, the word will spread
But they're gone by
very quickly.
But no, it's not that they're gone. I called the sheriff the
Has to
first,
be
I couldn't
posted.
believe they could do this. I called the sheriff when they first came. The sheriff came out,
has to be
checked all their licenses, called me back very
you have to say no
courteously,
trespassing.
reported that they had all the necessary licenses and permits that they were required to have, and said as long as they're shooting toward the water and not shooting at you, they're permitted to do it. Okay? She didn't care about private property. I mean, you know, it just didn't seem to care about it. Maybe one thing that's needed is a little more communication between the town attorney who's looking into the complexities of this, because it is complex, and the police who are trying to do the best job they can out there, but they're not lawyers, you know, they do the best they can. And what I would suggest is you could look at the particular neighborhoods, because there are only a couple neighborhoods on the whole bay where this is happening, and try and come up with a solution that's appropriate in each neighborhood. I don't think, I mean, prohibiting boats from coming in the area, is going to interfere tremendously with fishermen. We have people from Cortez who come and fish along that sandbar. You know, that's their living. I don't think anybody wants to interfere with that.
Well, I appreciate your comments. I think we've gotten some more information, and we'll continue to debate the subject, I suspect, going forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next on the, is there anybody else from the public that would like to talk on a future agenda item? If so, please come forward.
Thanks, Ann.
Seeing nobody else, we will close the consent item, citizens' comment on future agenda items. Now, we also have citizens' comments on consent items only, absent number 17, is that right? 15. Is there anybody from the public that has any comments on the consent item absent number 15? If so, come forward. Not seeing anybody come forward, we'll close public comment on the consent item. What's the pleasure of the board on the other one?
We approve minus 15.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Anybody? We've already asked for public comment, so the pleasure of the board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Okay, screaming right along here. I guess we're down to Construction Trade Board appointments.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the only one that's applied, Benjamin Jones.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody from the public that would like to discuss the Construction Trade Board appointment? Seeing nobody, we'll close public comment. We have a motion and we have a second for the applicant Benjamin Jones. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Mr. Jones is the new appointment to the Construction Trade, 7-0. Okay, now moving on to advertised public hearings. We'll open up, the first one is the resolution renaming the Happy Trails Dog Park. And Charlie's going to do that? Okay, and then I have one public comment.
Okay, well, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, again, Charlie Hunsaker, Parks and Natural Resources Director. I'm here to present to you a resolution in accordance with our ordinance to allow the renaming of a county facility called Happy Trails Dog Park at GT Bray, accessed off of 51st Avenue West, to Lori Crawford Dog Park in honor and recognition of Lori's extensive services to the county, to the public, to the dogs and animals of Manatee County in general. Someone with as big a heart as she had, I'm sure, extended to almost every animal living. The procedures, of course, are to provide notice, provide advertisement in a local paper. We provided the proof of publication in your agenda package that notice has been provided, and are prepared without objection to read into the record the resolution that will allow you to consider the renaming of the dog park in honor of Mrs. Crawford. If I may then, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Manatee County, Florida, renaming the GT Bray Happy Trails Dog Park to the Lori Crawford Dog Park, authorizing the placement of appropriate signage at the entrance of the dog park and providing for an effective date. And go on. Whereas Lori Crawford founded the Animal Network in 1999, an all-volunteer organization with a mission to keep pets out of Manatee County animal shelters, and she introduced the No-Kill Manatee movement to Manatee County Commission in 2011. Whereas Lori served on the Manatee County Animal Advisory Board from May 2000 to September 2015, and chaired the board from 2001 to 2015. A friend wrote, "She was a champion for animals and a lover of the underdogs. She was not one to back away from a fight if it meant helping animals." And whereas Lori substantially and significantly changed the way the county and our community views animals and their treatment. And whereas Lori also contributed to the establishment of Manatee County's first dog park, the Happy Trails Dog Park at GT Bray Park in Bradenton. And whereas at 64 years old, Lori left a love for dogs legacy when she passed away on November 8th, 2018. It is said that just this side of heaven is a place called Rainbow Bridge, a place where pets, it's going to talk together. Okay, a place where pets go to wait for the humans to join them. And the bridge takes them all to heaven together. And undoubtedly, Lori did not cross that bridge alone. So whereas on Tuesday, December 18th, 2018, Lori's friends at the Animal Network asked Manatee County Commissioners to rename GT Bray Happy Trails Dog Park after Lori, and whereas Manatee County has compiled with all procedural requirements to make this dedication as provided in Resolution 93-156, and whereas the Board of County Commissioners finds that it is in the best interest of the county to adopt this resolution, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Manatee County, Florida as follows. The GT Bray Dog Park is hereby renamed the Lori Crawford Dog Park. Manatee County staff is hereby authorized and directed to work on placement of suitable signage for the entrance into the dog park to memorialize this renaming. And I might add, we will be happy to have a ceremony there honoring Mrs. Crawford and inviting the community to attend. And with that, I offer a motion of approval of the resolution.
Well, first let me open it up to public comment, and I have one person signed up, Scott Walraven. Please come forward. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. My name is Scott Walraven. I'm with Animal Network. I'm serve on the board of directors. I met Lori in 1999, and she was very passionate from the beginning. You could tell that she had a purpose, that she wanted a dog park. I saw a little blip in the paper, if you want a dog park, come to this meeting. And we started having county commissioners come to our meeting, Parks and Recreation, and we got approved for our dog park, but that wasn't enough for Lori. She founded Animal Network, what was called MCOLA back then, and we had our first canine Christmas before the dog park existed, before it was the fencing and everything was installed, with the goal of raising awareness of adopting shelter animals and spay-neuter. And with the spay-neuter has continued. I've been trapping for almost 20 years now, and hundreds of, well, at least a few hundred cats, which would result in thousands at this point over the years. So just that little chance meeting with Lori has impacted the community just from me, and I won't repeat any of the I guess you could say her accomplishments has already been presented, but I really appreciate the commissioners in the county making this big step in naming the park for Lori. Thank you.
Commissioner Whitmore.
Thank you, and thanks for coming. There were animal people that were going to come today, but we didn't have a time certain, so, and they kind of probably got the feeling from the commission that it would be no issue. So, you know, we have a person that I met that, like they said, this lady was very assertive, very forward, and she made an impression on me and many others. And you know, our community loves the animals, and some can't understand that, but you know, we stepped forward. Manatee County signed the first resolution in the state of Florida to work towards no-kill. We actually accomplished that last year, and I think we are the only county that still has signed a resolution that actually met that goal. So thank you for everything that everybody's done, and with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anybody else from the public at this point that did not sign up that would like to come down and discuss this topic? Seeing nobody, we'll close public comment. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Resolution, I guess, passes 7-0.
And Mr. Chair, we'll let the public know whenever we do the actual unveiling of the sign.
And we'll give them a time certain for that.
Oh, it'll be at the dog park.
It'll be at an event, kind of like we did with the
GT break.
pool, right? Right. We'll be there, and we'll have a plaque or something, so that'll be cool.
Yeah. Thanks
Okay,
for coming.
moving on. 2018 annual report, Mr. Administrator.
It's only 10:42. We have to be here at 11:30 for the time, the cooling item.
As long as there's no ducks. Oh, me.
Uh-oh, must be a glitch.
Technology appears to have failed us this morning.
Oh, no.
Tell by Nick's face something happened.
Rather than watch me when I make this presentation, you usually have pictures up on the screen. That's much more interesting, but it appears the pictures didn't work.
And we'll just look at you.
Yeah,
we'll just
no
stare at you
pressure.
the whole time.
No pressure there.
Keep your head up so we don't have to look at the top.
Ouch. All right, here we go. When the county's fiscal year began October 1st, 2017, many areas of our community were still picking up pieces and attempting to restore some normal routine of a life that was disrupted by Hurricane Irma. The Building and Development Services team helped property owners assess their damages. Our Emergency Management, Neighborhood Services, and Redevelopment and Economic Opportunities teams were busy helping homeowners and businesses apply for state and federal assistance. The utility staff worked with local contractors for 3 months to haul away 500,000 cubic yards of storm debris. Thankfully, Manatee County was spared the worst of the Hurricane Irma's damage and destruction. However, that storm showed how resilient our community really is and how much our local government can provide to its residents when they need our help the most. We avoided direct threats from hurricanes in 2018, but we were challenged in other ways. A slow-moving red tide bloom in August prompted an extraordinary response from our parks and property management teams. During the hottest part of the year, those crews worked from sunup to sundown to keep our beaches and parks clear from red tide debris and to minimize the impacts from that harmful bloom. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to deliver the 2018 annual report to you today. Each year we use this report to give an overview of the exceptional accomplishments our county government achieved over the past 365 days. It also is my opportunity to thank some of the 1,800 county government representatives who served this community throughout the year, many times without recognition. I'll begin this year's annual report by touching on some of the accomplishments of our Public Safety Department. In recent years, under the leadership of Director Bob Smith, our Public Safety Department of 290 employees has become a state leader in several fronts. Last January, the Florida Beach Patrol Chiefs Association awarded its most prestigious award, Beach Patrol of the Year, to Manatee County Marine Rescue Division. The award recognizes the best agency in the industry for its elite public service to the community. That is an outstanding honor for Chief Joe Westerman and his crew of 16 lifeguards who keep our public beaches safe for the 2.8 million people a year who visit them. But that special award was only the beginning for our Public Safety Department. In its second full year, our innovative service delivery, the Community Paramedicine Division, worked with local patients to keep them out of the emergency room and helped to divert more than $1.4 million in health care costs through preventive care. Those efforts were recognized by the Florida Department of Health when it named our community paramedicine chief, Jimmy Crutchfield, as the recipient of the 2018 EMS Injury Prevention Award. Our Emergency Communication Division, that answers thousands of 911 calls each year, also made great headlines. An international accreditation agency awarded our Emergency Communication Center with its annual Public Safety Communications Technology Leadership Award. Over the past 12 months, under the leadership of Chief Jake Sauer, our Emergency Communications Center has accomplished so much, a full list of which is available in the annual report I provide to you later today. Animal Services Chief Sarah Brown, along with her staff, and some of the most dedicated volunteers in the county, helped achieve the board's goal of a 90% save rate for healthy, adoptable animals over the past fiscal year. That's a significant accomplishment considering the record number of dogs and cats that passed through our Animal Services shelter during that period. Without any major storms to threaten our area in 2018, our emergency management group managed to stay out of the news. But when Hurricane Michael devastated the Florida Panhandle in October, Manatee County first responders were some of the first to step up to assist. Interim Emergency Management Chief Steve Lischauer led a group of nearly 70 paramedics, public safety, law enforcement, and fire district representatives to Gulf County, only miles from where the devastating storms made landfall. During his brief time in the position, Steve has been the model of public servant, stepping into an important role without hesitation. Last year, we also made significant advancements with Sarasota County in the construction of a new regional public safety radio tower system that replaces obsolete equipment with new technology, giving police, paramedics, firefighters, and other first responders a far more reliable way to communicate during emergencies. Those upgrades would not have been possible without the tireless work of Information Technology Department under the leadership of Paul Alexander and the expertise of Willie Miranda. Public Safety Director Bob Smith also surrounded himself with a terrific leadership team that has accomplished great things in recent years. But their success and thanks is large part to our commissioners, who frequently remind us that public safety is your top priority. This year's budget continued that commitment to creating a safer community by adding 12 new Sheriff's Office deputies to patrol a fast-growing population. You also improved the security in areas of our public uses, mostly by approving funding for contracted security service in our most popular parks. Because of your commitment, public safety and law enforcement consume roughly 1/4 of your annual budget. Your vision for the community, your empowerment of our workforce, and your investments in the Public Safety Department have enabled our public safety team to become one of Florida's leaders in the area of emergency preparedness and response. 2018 was the first year we began to see the benefits of our voter-approved infrastructure sales tax, when the popular dog park at G.T. Bray Park was expanded and now extends to 3 shaded areas. Also of note, during the past year, with the board's investment, our property management group, under the leadership of Director Charlie Bishop and Project Manager Michael DePinto, oversaw renovations to the Department of Health building to upgrade the medical examiner's office. That project also includes space for a new EMS station in the heart of Bradenton for quick responses to many downtown emergencies. Our budget office, with the meticulous oversight by Financial Management Director Jan Brewer and Budget Manager Sheila Ballesteros, presented the board with another sustainable budget last year. We were able to provide you with a budget that meets many needs of a growing community, while also setting aside some revenue growth for one-time expenditures in expectation that voters would approve the additional homestead exemption on last fall's ballot. However, the amendment fell short of approval, meaning some additional funding will be available in the coming year's budget to address some of the many requests that come before you each year. Jan and her team, working with the Utilities Director Mike Gore and Utilities Fiscal Service team of Heather Deldine, Michelle Bayless, and with the assistance of Bill Clegg and the County Attorney's Office, the group earned stellar reviews from Moody's Investor Service last year. Moody's assigned AA1 rating to Manatee County Utility Revenue Improvement Bonds. We also maintained a AA1 rating for the system's outstanding $166 million net parity debt. Also last year, Fitch Ratings assigned AAA rating to the county's public utility revenue bonds that will pay for capital projects. Fitch also upgraded $166.4 million of public utility revenue bonds to AAA from AA+. These ratings are thanks to prudent direction by the board and will enable the county to borrow at a far better rates than when issuing bonds for utility infrastructure. As part of the annual report, I'd like to acknowledge many people who help make the county government operate smoothly outside of the spotlight. So when we talk about the county's annual budget, it's a good time to recognize our award-winning procurement office, which works in tandem with the county staff and the business community to ensure public funds are spent appropriately when we must purchase goods or services. Procurement official Teresa Webb has placed a renewed emphasis on customer service in recent years, and last year the division received its 4th Achievement of Excellence in Procurement Award from the National Procurement Institute. Last year, we continued to make strides in our customer service by implementing new technology throughout the web. A collection of new online offerings are making our government more transparent and accessible than ever. Last February, the Building and Development Services Department rolled out its new online service tool that allows customers to apply for permits, licenses, planning, and zoning from their home computer or even mobile device. For the first time ever, building department customers can track their project's progress from submittal to approval without even having to come into our offices. Kudos to John Barnott, Glenna Campanera, Diana Morrissey, Jennifer Baird, Lucy Pritchard, and to IT's Susan Kubrish for the smooth launch of the new system. Online improvements and the sheer volume of building permits coming into the building department have enabled the board to lower many permitting fees for the 4th time in 6 years. This time, a 30% reduction. Improved efficiencies in the department have led to a 52% reduction in most department fees since 2012, thanks to the leadership and direction of John Barnott. In June, we launched the redesign of the county website that makes finding government information far easier than ever before. The site is easy to use, and you can easily find what you're looking for using a computer or mobile device. The new site was made possible through the hard work of Rachel Taff, Matt Arigata, Seth Scott, Sue Glutch, and Paul Alexander, and many, many others. Manatee Libraries continue its long run of excellence last year, earning 2 more statewide honors. The Florida Library Association presented its Library Means Business Award to our local team for providing excellent programs and resources for local businesses and job seekers. The association also presented the Manatee Library System with its Library Innovation Award for the 805 Literary and Arts Journal, Florida's first public library-generated community journal. Topping off another amazing year for our library system was the recent announcement of our 2018 Employee of the Year. Braden River Branch Supervisor Kathy Laird is the modest public servant who won the honor last year. In nearly 20 years with Manatee County Libraries, Kathy has proven herself as a dedicated, responsible, patient, and caring team member. She exemplifies the ACE philosophy daily. Many of those accolades would not have been possible without the vision of the former Library Services Manager and now Neighborhood Services Director, Ava Eddy. She has transformed Manatee County Libraries into the state's finest library system, and she gives us great expectations for the Neighborhood Services Department in 2019 and beyond. As the interim director in 2018, Ava's team of professionals continue to stand out in their fields and to accomplish great things. For example, Joshua Barnett received the Manatee County Chamber of Commerce Individual of Merit, a Healthcare Champion Award last year, in recognition of the significant strides he's brought in the realm of healthcare services to our community. Joshua also helped Manatee County obtain a $500,000 grant for opioid-focused peer coach services to curb opioid overdoses and improve positive treatment outcomes. Veteran Services Officer Lee Washington crafted a board proclamation that designates Manatee County as a Purple Heart community. Using donations from the Wounded Warriors Foundation, Lee worked with Property Management's Charlie Bishop and Tim Funk last year to install 50 reserved parking spaces for Purple Heart recipients at county facilities. These spots are a very public reminder of our appreciation for those who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Veteran Services also opened 2 satellite offices, one in Ellington and one on Anna Maria Island last year. Simone Peterson was awarded a Knight Foundation grant for a community visioning project called Speak Up Manatee. Simone and her team also launched a Neighborhood Connections blog and developed 2 new neighborhood action plans, one in Washington Gardens and the other in Paris. Simone worked with Ogden Clark, Debbie DeLeon, and John Osborne in 2018 to collect a significant amount of public feedback as part of our Back to the Future conversation with the community. That team put in countless hours, many of them in the evening, to visit neighborhood groups and homeowner associations to ask our residents exactly what they want from Manatee County in the future. I began this annual report by touching on the remarkable efforts to clean our streets and neighborhoods of storm debris after Hurricane Irma. But in 2018 will be remembered by many Floridians as the year of severe red tide bloom had significant impacts on our local beaches and in turn on one of our economy's biggest drivers, the tourism industry. In August, the routine daily cleanup of public beaches by our Parks Department took a turn. Property management crews led by Parks and Grounds Manager Carmen D'Amelio and Grounds Supervisor Lisa Kleck began working from sunup to sundown to clean our beaches and parks from marine life washing ashore from red tide. Midway through the effort, we expanded the cleanup operations, and under the leadership of Naaman Moore, a vendor began clearing hard-hit residential waterways. Property management maintenance crews work with local HOA presidents to distribute dumpsters, nets, and buckets where they were needed most. Casey Ellis and other team members from the County Administrator's Office, along with Human Resources, Public Safety, and various other departments, answered red tide hotline calls 7 days a week. Information outreach oversaw the public information campaign to keep our public well informed of red tide information and assistance. Information outreach also worked closely with the department, with DEP and financial management to secure a state grant for $500,000 to assist us with cleanup costs. Our Redevelopment and Economic Opportunity Department, better known as RIO, Jerry Lopez, Karen Stewart, Bruno, Captain, I knew I'd get this one, troubled name, Captain Suncoast, I think I got that right, and others went door to door speaking with island-based business owners to hear their concerns and to inform them of federal government assistance available to suffering businesses. They work with Neighborhood Services to host Small Business Administration Office at the Island Branch Library for local business owners to register their losses with the state. The Convention and Visitors Bureau led a marketing effort to drive business to the coastal restaurants that were hit hardest by the economic downturn resulting from the red tide. By the time October arrived, our employees had removed 316 tons of debris in a 2-month period. The dedicated men and women of those cleanup teams worked in extreme temperatures and endured sights and smells none of us want to encounter. Mm-hmm. They worked into the night and on weekends to do their part in keeping our beaches pristine. The red tide cleanup effort is a prime example of the perseverance and dedication of our workforce shows every year. Local tourism numbers remain strong despite the impact of red tide and its impact on our residents and businesses. Visitation to our area continued to climb during the last fiscal year, when visitors increased by 4% over the prior year. Those extra visitors helped generate more than 10% more tourism revenue than the year before. Our Convention and Visitors Bureau, under the strong leadership of Elliot Falcione, has diversified our area, and we are no longer reliant on strong visitation numbers to our island communities. Last year, Elliot, Sean Walter, and our CVB team helped attract almost 100 major sporting events to Manatee County. Those events bring hundreds and sometimes thousands of family members and spectators to Manatee County, sometimes from locations across the world. Even more events are planned in the coming year. Earlier, I mentioned John Barnott's leadership in the building department. It was John, working with Lisa Barrett and Margaret Tusing, to serve up revisions that will modernize your land development code. Another facet of that movement was the board's new Livable Manatee Incentive Program, created by Redevelopment and Economic Opportunity Director Jerry Lopez and Housing and Community Development Manager Denise Thomas. Working to change the longstanding codes to combat rising home sale prices in our area has made Livable Manatee a notable achievement for this board. It has not come easily, but it is working to create affordable homes for low and moderate income families who want to establish roots here. Incentives for 10 projects were approved last year, and more are on the way. Working with the Bradenton Area Economic Development Council, our own economic development official, Karen Stewart, continued to do and represent the county well to prospective business owners. Under Karen's leadership, last year, the board adopted $234,000 in incentives to bring nearly 279 high-wage jobs to our area. The 10 businesses that received those incentives are projected to invest $24.6 million in capital improvements here in the coming years. Since launching our economic development program 9 years ago, Manatee County has provided $12.6 million in local incentives to create or retain more than 5,800 quality jobs through 2024. Last February, we managed to improve upon one of Manatee's greatest assets, Robinson Preserve. The Mosaic Center for Nature, Exploration, Science, and Technology, the NEST for short, opened last year as a beautiful new elevated treehouse education center for the environmental programs and educational courses for the public. Last year, we also completed the Robinson Preserve expansion with new canoe launches, mangrove islands, trails, ponds, and restored wetlands. More is coming in 2019 when another 150 acres of abandoned farmland is transformed into a quality coastal habitat. Robinson Preserve is the vision of our Parks and Natural Resource Director, Charlie Hunziker, and the result of significant efforts from staff and volunteers. It is also an example of what amazing work can be accomplished when our government works with other governments and the private sector to preserve local lands for the future. Robinson Preserve wasn't the only park improvement last year. Alan LaHip, our environmental program manager, worked with Tom Yarger in property management on a 9-month renovation of the popular North Coquina boat ramp. The improvements greatly expanded boating access and trailer parking. Similar upgrades are coming to the boat ramp at Palmasola Causeway, which became a county asset this past January. Local parks and preserves offer unique benefits to the public health, the environment, the economy, and local property values. This board is uniquely positioned to leave an incredible legacy in the areas of parks and recreation as we implement the Parks Master Plan in 2019 and beyond. Florida appears to be in the midst of another period of more frequent and intense storms. So it's comforting to have an emergency management team that we have when hurricanes approach. But Public Works also plays a key role during storm preparedness. Last year, with board funding, Public Works purchased 5 new sandbagging machines that have already helped to distribute sandbags to the public much more efficiently and with less staff than in the past. The new equipment was one of the first projects Chad Butzo oversaw as the interim director following the retirement of our friend Ron Schulhofer. Although we have strong leadership in emergency management and public works, when hurricanes approach, we must become better positioned to handle local flooding that often comes when we have intense rains for hours or days at a time. Our public works maintenance crews oversee more than 503 miles of stormwater pipes, 655 miles of roadside ditches, 181 miles of canals, and much, much more. Adding more people to the mix will only go so far to address flooding in low-lying areas. During the coming year, we will continue to have public discussions on potential stormwater fee to determine if and how much it will help prevent local flooding. What is the appropriate amount to charge, and who will pay a stormwater fee? Which flood control projects will provide the most benefit to the largest number of residents? In the coming year, the board should also begin to have public conversations about how our local government will address the business relationship for water resources this government has with our 3 island cities. Sometime soon, this board will need to have a serious conversation about whether and how to transition those cities to a master meter arrangement similar to the agreements we have with the cities of Bradenton, Palmetto, and Longboat Key. As we continue to grow as a community, strive to improve the services we provide the public, there are other strategic decisions that need to be made in 2019 and beyond. The county's animal services shelter in Palmetto is consistently at capacity and often overcrowded. The building's electrical capacity cannot be expanded. In 2019, we will continue working toward a public-private partnership to build a new expanded shelter facility that will accommodate more animals while meeting the high standards of the animal-loving community. In recent years, we've hardened county buildings and public spaces, but you will need to be more holistic approach to secure a government facility if it's to be done correctly in a way that does not create an undue inconvenience for our taxpaying customers. Our Public Safety Department has undertaken a study on how to improve building and employee security throughout the county. In the coming year, you can also look forward to recommendations from a consultant delivering recommendations on how to jumpstart businesses in northern Manatee County east of Port Manatee. We might expect that study to call for costly new roads and utilities that will pave the way for investors to open shop. You'll have to ask what level of investment you are willing to make in order to attract businesses and to create new job opportunities in that area. Not far to the east of that area is fast-growing Parish, where new homes have been built over the past 5 years as briskly as almost anywhere else in the county. We will do our best to keep pace with all of them growth by providing traffic improvements. But what role should the county government have in helping that new region like Parish develop a sense of place or somewhere to see friends other than Publix or the Parish Railroad Museum? As communities north of the Manatee River continue to grow, you'll have a greater need to connect Palmetto to Parish. How will we fund the next east-west corridor in northern Manatee County? Where will the job centers in northern Manatee be located? What travel alternatives can we offer drivers to avoid crossing the congested bridges over the Manatee River that we know today? September of last year, the board purchased nearly 75 acres north of Premier Sports Campus. In a few years, that property will become a government services center with park amenities, a library, and buildings for government services. That purchase was a significant step you made over the past year in our goal to bring government to the fastest growing areas east of Manatee. Progress on 44th Avenue advanced closer to the Interstate 75 over the past year. We completed permitting for the section over the Braden River. Construction on that section should begin later this year. Design and permitting are currently underway for the final segment, which will extend from 44th Avenue Plaza East to Lakewood Ranch Boulevard, crossing I-75. The entire roadway will connect Lakewood Ranch to West Bradenton by 2024. Moving to the population center of the county will make government services more accessible, efficient, and effective for our fastest growing areas. In 2019, we will work with a design consultant who will make space and service recommendations that will provide the best value for our taxpaying customers. We will include the board and the public before proceeding with plans for the East County Service Center and recreational facilities that will go on that site. No less important is the growing need to plan for new facilities for staff and field operations in the new and growing areas of the county. This will enable us to explore new possibilities to sell some properties or for older facilities to be repurposed. Time is also quickly approaching to identify a new site for a county landfill that will be needed within the next 25 years. Identifying space and beginning to plan for new landfill is not an easy process. It will require special permitting and space for buffering and landscaping around the property. And now that we have reached the conclusion of the 2018 annual report, I will again note that it's impossible to list each and every accomplishment we made in the community over the past year. Nor can I adequately express my appreciation for the 1,800 employees who work day in and day out to make Manatee counties one of Florida's finest counties. I extend my thanks to each of our department directors. They are the exceptional team of leaders who make this great things possible through their leadership, dedication, and support of our ACE philosophy. I'd also like to thank John Osborne, Deputy Administrators Dan Schlant and Sherry Courier, who again proven herself to be a strong leader in this government and capable of added responsibility at each stop in her career here. Sherry, Dan, and John make personal sacrifices by working many long hours to make this organization run so smoothly. They are the elite group whose daily work and dedication set a tremendous example for our employees to follow. Finally, thank you, Commissioners, for your ongoing guidance and the support of the amazing staff that serves this great community. This is a solid, cohesive board, and you stand primed to accomplish many more great things in 2019 and beyond. That concludes my annual report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ed. Very well done. Commissioner Serbia.
Oh, thank you. I'm always someone who's suggesting that we keep looking ahead and have the vision and the long-term vision 20 and 30 years ahead, but it's also so important to reflect back on the things that we've done, and you did an excellent job of explaining all the things that this county has done, and it's incredible. So thank you for the report. You leave us, Ed, in a really good spot with a great team, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Whitmore.
I just want to thank you, Ed. Your management style is to give your directors the assignment on the board's direction, and they own it. And you don't micromanage, and you can tell that, and I think that's appreciated. That's what's made us where we are today. May we also have a copy of your presentation? Because
it'll be on your office when you're
okay, because I love to keep track and highlight so that I can actually put it out there to the public. This is your final report, and I want to thank you for all that you've given to Manatee County and all the personal sacrifices you have, family, everything else, and it shows what you've done to Manatee County is over and above a lot of other counties in this state, and I have your 100 respect. I respect working with you all these years, and it's very hard what you've had to do and endure throughout the years, and you've kept your head high, and you've kept your employees strong, and as a cohesive team. So I just want to thank you publicly for that all you have given to Manatee County.
Okay, Commissioner Bennett.
Yeah, I always enjoy this time where we reflect on the achievements, and I have to admit, Ed, you present this almost like a proud father talking about all the things that your staff achieves. And, you deserve that. You deserve that role. Because you do have to, and Carol alluded to it, you have to, as a manager, be able to motivate people, and it's not easy. lots of times managers want to put people under their thumb and show them how it's done. And guess what? That never, ever works. Would not get innovation. You know, I've been publicly critical sometimes of school board managers because they rise up through the ranks and they get to the top and they think, I'm finally here, I can make sure everybody does it my way. That doesn't work. We know that in industry, everyone knows the best practices are to give people the tools they need and then let them go so they can succeed. And your management style has done that. Our success is a reflection of that. You know, I hope whoever is our long-term county administrator will learn from that and will be able to continue that going forward. Government is unique, but we have such an incredible team approach that we're able to succeed where many other governments are not able to succeed. The challenges are great moving forward. I was going to bring this up under my comments. I'm trying to find the report that we got yesterday at the MPO, looking forward at some of the population projections. The challenges are going to be great to be able to handle all the folks that want to live here, but you've done a great job. You've set a great example. Even just thinking about the smooth launch of our system. I don't want to trash the poor school board, but, you know, they had anything but. And, you know, that's not an easy thing to accomplish. That was a very significant investment this county has made in new technology and, you know, but we worked through it. So I just want to say congratulations. I hope that going forward somebody can do as good a job as you have.
Thank you. I'd like to say my father taught me that you hire good people and then get out of the way. And that's been our philosophy, but it stems from this board. There are boards that I have worked for that want to get down in the minutia and run it. You have allowed me to allow them to go do what they need to do. They embrace their job because they understand it's their job. It's something that they treasure and they enjoy, and you allow it to happen. And I'm thankful for that, and I've enjoyed the years here more than you can imagine. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, moving along to the number 39, dashboard report.
We'd be happy to answer any questions. We provided that dashboard report early on in my tenure here because in talking to the board then, I suggested that the only way the board knows how well the government's doing is reading the paper in the morning. You had no data. And so what we did is provided this dashboard report for your information to let you know how the business is operating that you're responsible for. And you get the building activity, you get the tourism activity, you get the public safety information, and it's a quick read to see how things are going within the community and how it's progressing or not. During the recession, we had a lot of the or not. These days, it's a bit better than that, but it's just a report for you and the citizens of the county to look at and understand the activities and the growth that's taking place. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, my only comment I talked with Ed about a little bit is, you know, looking at the dashboard, you know, a lot of the trend lines are starting to slip. So we need to keep an eye on that as we go forward. You know, some of them are because of seasonal issues and different things, but the majority of them are showing some slippage there. Betsy?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. The applications for development is lower, trending lower. You know, like it or not, our community economy is still largely based on growth, and you know, there's going to be a slowdown. We know that. You know when, and when I talk about trend projections, they were just that. If you look back at history and project forward trends, well, you're going to have an upward trajectory, obviously, because that's what's happened since the recession. But we all know those kind of numbers don't continue ad infinitum. There's gonna be dips, so that is something that I think we can see in our dashboard. If you look at applications, impact fees, they're all down. as of December. So we'll just keep an eye on it, I guess.
From an economic standpoint, they're great forward-leading indicators, if you will. But it's, again, may just be a blip, but it's just something I think we should be cognizant of as we go forward, especially with the budget next year, because some of those numbers can quickly impact.
Yes, they will. We're looking at those trends and trying to forecast what they might mean in a budgetary situation.
Okay, well, that kind of concludes everything on the numbered agenda, with the exception of the one consent item, which is at an 11:30 time certain. So how about if we just open up commissioner comments at this point and then break at 11:30 for that consent thing? So we'll start, where did we start last time? I think.
That end.
Okay, we'll start with Carol then this time.
The only thing I have since the last meeting is I asked the new mayor of Holmes Beach to come up here yesterday and meet anybody that was here. I knew when I got that job, it's good to meet the people at the county because you have such access. You may not have people, but you have great, be able to get relationships so they could get contacts. And we spent most of our time, Steve met with her, and then actually Charlie spent a lot of time with her because there was a lot of things regarding a contaminated lake they have in the city, et cetera. So they spent a lot of time on that. She sent a note thanking us for agreeing to meet with her. And Steve, is that she's a lot different than the previous mayor. And she's already terminated 3 people her first week in the office. So she was a commissioner for years before then. So she's doing what she needs to do. And she was the only new mayor. That's why I asked her to come, because she hadn't really met anybody up on the 9th floor. So it went well. And that was all.
Okay. Commissioner Bellamy?
Just going back to, as we enter Black History Month this weekend, Exerna Clayton's going to be at the Manatee Performing Arts, and I'm looking forward to attending. I do have some youth that I plan on extending that opportunity, that experience to. As we move forward, we have to make sure the individuals that kind of plowed the way for us as far as civil rights and things of that nature. So just looking forward to that this weekend. That's my only comments, to be honest.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Trace?
For the MPO members, there's a lot of concern in Parish with traffic, and I might be coming with this board just some things maybe that can be presented to the MPO as we go along. That's it.
That's it. Commissioner Benak?
Yeah, and I did bring that up only because, unfortunately, I did not have that meeting on my calendar, so I had scheduled something else that conflicted, so I couldn't go to the parish community. I would like to have heard the FDOT report, because I only know what I read in the paper, but I did bring it up at the MPO yesterday when FDOT was speaking, and I jokingly said something about, I understand, you were not well received or something like that. And he said, that's an understatement.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, the young guy from DOT. So I said, I really, I would like a presentation. So, and I expressed that to Clark yesterday also, that, what's going on in Parish. I really don't know, other than I know what I saw in the agenda for the Parish Community or Civic Association agenda. So I've asked for them to do a presentation to us. So hopefully they will, so we can all be on the same page, why they're doing, what they're doing, when they're doing. So they said they would.
We are slightly riled up.
Yes. So I saw, and I understandably so. So we all need to understand that so we can figure out what's best, or what we can work with DOT on. Just a couple other comments on the MPO meeting yesterday. It was a long meeting. I mean, we weren't here. We started at 9 in Venice, went through, and then in the afternoon we had a work session, and the work session was very good. We had many presenters. Vanessa might speak to some of this too. I'll just mention a couple things. One of the presentations we had is on the upcoming long-range transportation plan, and I was trying to find it online so y'all could see it. I do have a hard copy. I'll make sure that y'all can get it, because I can't find it online. not even in the agenda. This is a presentation on the regional demographic review. So this is the data that we're going to be using for a long-range plan.
Send it to us, yeah.
And it's very good, but it shows in the population projections that Manatee County is going to exceed Sarasota County in population.
Really?
So, and that's not been done previously, so
Right.
the trajectory is high. These are Bieber midterm projections. I asked him if we modify them at all, and he said no. So I think we all need to be aware of this. You know, it just makes the challenge great for us. Makes the challenge huge. That people want to live here, and we got to figure out how to accommodate them. So I would suggest all of you take a look at some of that stuff. I know even if you don't serve on the MPO, it is something that is that we're going to be talking about as we move forward, how we're going to handle this growth. The last thing I want to mention is Airbnb. I think you all have seen some of the articles on the success that other communities that have entered into agreements with Airbnb with their collections.
Right.
So why can't we? I know that our tax collector says absolutely not. They were suing Airbnb, but perhaps there is a better way for this community to get its fair share of the revenue.
Right.
So I don't know, county attorney, if there's something we can do. The tax collector has told us, nope, his purview only. But, we have incidents that, fortunately, we were able to keep our tourist development tax, unlike apparently Sarasota, what I read. They had a huge drop. Ours is somehow kept a little bit more steady. But it just doesn't make any sense to me that we don't avail ourselves of utilizing the technology to collect the revenue rather than relying simply on citizens who operate Airbnb to make sure that they do the right thing. I'm not saying they don't do the right thing because they're aware of it, but sometimes they're not aware of it. The evidence shows that those that enter into agreements do much better in the collection. So I don't get it. I don't get what we have to lose, but I know that there are certain communities in the state of Florida that have, rather than working with them, have decided to challenge them. So I'm still going to continue to bring that up.
I think we need to do something on that. I mean, we've heard what the property appraisers, tax collector said. We've talked about it. Some say up here in the past have said that we don't agree with that. I think what we need to know is what our options are, because there are so many people that are out on the island visiting that are staying at a room in town that I know we're not collecting our tax on. And I think, I don't know where to go from here, Ed or Mickey, but I think we need to move forward on trying to, some people are more or less, to me, cheating. They should be submitting that and making the visitors pay, and they're not. And I know it's through Airbnb. I think we need to do something.
And it's not just Airbnb. The other organizations are also.
All of them.
They are making these agreements with local government to ensure that they collect the tax and it gets remitted. That's the difference. So I know, Reggie, you might not have been up to date on this.
No, I'm not.
The law is pretty clear. They got to submit the room tax, but because of the way Airbnb operates with single family homeowners or whoever renting out there, sometimes they're not even aware there is such a tax. Mm-hmm. So Airbnb enters into agreement, and then they submit it. The thing that Airbnb and these other groups won't do is provide the tax collector with all of the documentation on who they are. They respect that privacy. So the tax collector says, well, we can't check it. We don't have the information to check it. So we think that we'd rather sue them for their participants not providing it. I don't know where those lawsuits are. Maybe we could find that out, where they're going, what the success has been on that front, and try to come up with a strategy. I mean, maybe they're right. I'm not going to say I'm an expert in this issue.
Well, if other communities, excuse me, sorry to cut you off. That's
Commissioner Baugh is on.
Thank you. You know what? We've talked about this for
a year at least.
I think more than 2 years actually, because I was working with Mickey on this on one that was in Myaca. It seems to me that, we had the tax collector come and meet with us in a workshop. We know how he feels about it. However, you can just look at Sarasota County when they instituted their policy on it. It increased their bed tax almost to $500,000. So it makes a huge difference. So instead of us, I'm just curious, I think we probably need to give some guidance to the county attorney. I know that they've been looking into this for several years. They have a lot of knowledge already. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion for the county attorney's office to finish their research on this and to come forward on how we can work with the tax collector to start making sure that we are receiving the correct amount of bed tax with Airbnbs.
I'll second for discussion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to weigh in as well at the appropriate time.
Vanessa, at the end of your motion, we already know, like you said, how the tax collector feels. So, and you had mentioned in it that you're going to work with him. He's already said how he feels. In the motion, you said we're going to work with the tax collector.
Okay.
Do you mean to say that?
You know what? Y'all can revise the motion any way you want. I don't really care. My goal is just to see us move forward. I don't care how we go about it. But your tax collector is the one that would need to collect the money unless there's something I am not familiar with, Mickey, on that item. So obviously, we'd have to work something out. Can this board, do we have the authority to get the tax collector to do this? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. He's really a state officer, a constitutional officer. So I don't know how that would work. But that's why I think we need more guidance from the county attorney.
Okay. Commissioner Bellamy?
Well, that's basically where I was going, is to talk to Mickey and see what our options are. And if other counties have moved in this direction, obviously we may have the ability to communicate with them and see how they exercise their options. And maybe the attorney's office can come back to us and say, well, this is what was taking place in other counties, and these are our options. And I think once we have identified our options, we need to put something together so we can address this. And sometimes government move a little bit slow. I'm learning that, but I think I think in this particular situation, I'm always about timelines. If there's possible, once he communicate with us our options, we identify a timeline to see how we can move forward on this and get this behind us.
Vanessa,
I'm
you're done? Okay. Betsy?
Yeah, yes, and what is causing me to continue to bring this up, headlines like, as tourism grows, Airbnb's tax payments to Florida nearly double year over year.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Says year before, it remitted about $45 million. This past year, Airbnb paid nearly $90 million in taxes. So are we getting our fair share or not? Because we've chosen to sue them, and I think the tax collector filed the lawsuit, is what I recall.
Yes.
What's going on with that lawsuit? Where are we at? I don't know.
I can give you some general information on the status of the lawsuit when you're ready.
Okay. It just seems to me, and again, I could be wrong, but it seems to me that we're missing out by not working with them rather than working against them.
Thank you.
Okay. Good. Attorney Palmer, maybe you can now weigh in on this, opine for a while if you will.
I'm happy to, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Commissioner Bellamy, to answer one of your questions, it's a mixed bag around the state. There are a number of counties that have entered into, I would say a growing number of counties that have entered into agreements with Airbnb. There are other counties that have refused to do so. There are yet another subset of counties that have not only refused to do so, but have filed suit against Airbnb. Among those, when I say counties, I'm talking tax collectors. Among those are the Charlotte County tax collector, the Collier County tax collector, the Manatee County tax collector. Interestingly, there's a reference here to the City of New York versus Airbnb. So the only ones, and I'm looking at a recent FACA dispatch here, Florida Association of County Attorneys. So the only actual lawsuits that they've listed here, I don't think this is a complete list, are Collier County and Manatee County. In terms of what's going on with our tax collector's lawsuit, it is moving at a snail's pace. The complaint was filed on April 27 of last year. It was then removed to federal court by Airbnb. The federal judge did not see it Airbnb's way in terms of the removal to federal court, and so the federal judge sent it back to the local circuit court on October 30 of last year. I think there's been very little activity in the local circuit court since that time, but in any way, it's followed a bit of a circuitous route. Started out in state court, went to federal court, now back in state court, which is where it will remain. And I just don't think that they've progressed much in the lawsuit. It looks like Collier County's lawsuit was also remanded back to state court on April 20th of 2018. I am not aware. Are there options? There are options, but I'm not aware of any option that doesn't involve the participation of the tax collector. And therein lies the rub. Your tax collector has repeatedly indicated that he has no intention of entering into a contractual relationship with Airbnb. Nevertheless, and oh, by the way, respectfully, Commissioner Ball, my office has not been involved in researching anything. There is no pending product that this board is waiting on from my office. Nevertheless, you've given instruction today, or you're about to give instruction, I think, on the vote that you're about to take for my office to take a fresh look at the matter and tell you what your options are. Right. And so assuming that motion passes momentarily, we will be happy to do that for you. But again, as I sit here right now, I'm not aware of any option that doesn't involve the cooperation of the tax collector.
Really? Bummer.
Okay. Commissioner Benak?
Yeah, and my recollection is Airbnb's headquarters are in Florida. I had met with folks, and I think, Vanessa, you may have too, that from Airbnb, I can't think of the people's name, and they were trying to meet with the tax collector to understand the concerns that the tax collector had, which I know go to the whole sharing of information and whether or not there's some information, rather than sharing individuals' information, sharing information on a bigger scale. So, this is a community issue, and I would never want to take on another constitutional officer, but I would love to see, maybe we need to have another discussion with them, unfortunately, and see where they're at and see if they think there's anything else that might be able to be done. And, if there's anything the county attorney can do to help us to know what our authority is. I understand that role of the tax collector is to collect the tax. I get that. But we're the one that set the tax. We're the one that set the budget for how the tax is spent. So I find it hard to believe that we have so little authority here.
Your ordinance designates the local tax collector as the collector of the bed tax. And so if you choose to designate someone else, I don't know offhand who that might be. But you can certainly, so we'll give you a comprehensive analysis, and we'll, to include an analysis of your existing ordinance and what options you might have to modify that ordinance.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor.
Could we read the motion?
I'm just going to say, can you read the motion back for clarification, please?
Motion by Commissioner Boss, seconded by Commissioner Whitmore, for the county attorney to finish the research on this and come forward on how to work with the tax collector to make sure we are receiving the correct amount of bed tax with B&Bs.
Does that sound correct?
Yeah, I'm good. County attorney understands it. Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment at this point that would like to come forward to discuss this? Seeing nobody, will close public comment.
Mr. Chair, on the motion, it says to have the county attorney to finish, and he just stated that he hadn't.
Right. There's nothing to finish because there's no work in
maybe just
progress.
change the word.
So you want to amend your second?
Yeah, just to give direction to the county attorney. and whatever the rest of it is. Because he said he isn't working on anything. He's not finishing anything.
Robin, can you read that motion again, please, so I can amend it? Please.
For the county attorney's office to finish the research on this and come forward on how to work with the tax collector to make sure we are receiving the correct amount of bed tax with B&Bs.
It sounds like to me the only thing we need to do on that, and Mickey, correct me if I'm wrong, is take out the word finish.
Yep.
So we just
agreed.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we have agreed to amend it to take out the word finish.
Yes.
And the seconder's okay with that. We'll again open it up for public comment with the new terminology. Seeing nobody present, we'll close public comment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Are you done now? Okay. Now, if we could hold up on yours, Misty, and I see Mr. Barnett is here, and we can open up number 15, the Lakewood Ranch Stewardess District Map Amendment.
Yes, we had, John Barnett, Building Development Services, we had received a request from Schroeder Manatee, Lakewood Ranch, to amend their stewardship district boundaries, and we saw no issue with that. In our opinion, it meets the comprehensive plan, and recommend a letter of no objection be signed by the chair and forwarded to the legislative delegation, Senator Galvano.
And thank you very much for that. And I want to start by apologizing to the people who had to wait to come and give comments on this matter, because I've been in your seat so many times, and for that I'm really sorry to waste any of your time. But I did not understand this item. I understand what CDDs are. I had never experienced a stewardship district, and there was not a staff report or anything that explained that it was consistent with a comprehensive plan. I saw that some of the land is east of the future development area boundary. I'm guessing that there are, I mean, I don't know if there are any entitlements that are assumed with a stewardship district, if it's strictly a financial district. But, you know, if staff is telling us that it is completely consistent with the comprehensive plan and the land development code and state statutes, I mean, that's basically what I wanted to understand.
Right, and we made note of that, and the action requested that it was consistent with the comprehensive plan in the report. But there are no zoning entitlements, there are no development entitlements. It's just moving this one piece out of the stewardship district and two pieces in. Part of Indigo. Most of Indigo is in the stewardship district. There's a small portion that's not. Mr. Neal would like that included in the stewardship district. And then there's property east of the urban service boundary that has been asked to be put in the stewardship district. There's no development. You can develop it in 5-acre tracts, being outside the urban service boundary.
And Mr. Chairman, did the county attorney's office review the matter to make sure that, I have no idea.
No, they didn't. That was my decision not to send that NRLS up on that. I didn't see a legal issue with that.
Okay.
I looked at previous letters of no objection that we've given in the past. And as long as it's consistent with our comprehensive plan, we at staff, particularly as directors, value the resources in the county attorney's office. We're very careful about what we send up there. You know, it's a very valuable resource, and we don't want to, I just felt like they didn't need to review this.
Right, and I can appreciate that. I'm not familiar with the statutes. I just am looking to make sure that the county has done everything in accordance with the laws. And so thank you for your input. I appreciate that.
Okay. Commissioner Benak?
Yeah, Misty, you and I are scary. I had the exact same questions, and I did ask them in emails to staff. I did send an email to Sarah Schenk. And, you know, I talked with John about it because my concern was a stewardship district to me is like a CDD, and the expansion of a CDD outside of the urban service boundary, are we in any way giving any expectation of county services. So I'm going to go right on the record right now that my understanding is the stewardship district is something that is created by the legislature. But I know, having, as a planner, testified in the creation of many CDDs and have had to testify as an expert witness as to the consistency of a CDD with the comprehensive plan. I've never been asked to testify to the consistency of a CDD outside an urban service boundary with a comprehensive plan. So I had the same question. What does it mean to be consistent with a comprehensive plan? And I don't know if our comprehensive plan is silent to the issues of CDDs today, because that was a long time ago when I was charged as an expert to make that consistency finding. But what has been told by Mr. Barnott to me is they could create 5-acre lots consistent with the comprehensive plan, not be served by any urban services, and still be allowed to create a CDD, a stewardship district. So I've got to take that as the expert telling me that. I don't have any other choice because I don't have any other information. So that is why I'm going to vote for it. But it still makes me a little nervous, I have to admit. But I'm not an expert in this. The expert is John Barnott, testifying here before us today, that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. So I'm going to rely on that when I make my vote.
Commissioner Ball.
Lakewood Ranch comes forward and probably has one of the best master plan communities, I don't even know of another one, in Manatee County. It goes without saying that as far as the Taylor family and the land that will go into Lakewood Ranch, I think we all are aware of that, perhaps not our two new commissioners, because I don't think you guys were here, but gosh, a year or two ago. I mean, it's been a while. I know the Taylor family has been looking at doing this for a long, long time. I can tell you that for me, it's a no-brainer. It is increasing the acreage of Lakewood Ranch, so to speak. I welcome that. Although I was not in favor of the cell tower, I am in favor of this. And I want you to know that I've had that discussion. But that being said, I mean, I think the attorney is here for the stewardship in case there are any questions, but it is within our comp plan. I wish Lakewood Ranch could add a whole lot more land, SMR, yes, I should say, to Lakewood Ranch because we're blessed with what we're seeing there. But, I do understand, too. I mean, where Misty's coming from. She's new on the board. And we need to give her a little leadway in that regard. And I think sometimes we forget that. But, I was familiar with the situation, knew that sooner or later this would be coming forward. And I still was kind of like Betsy going, well, wait a minute. But I don't see how we could not approve this. It's good. It's good for the county. It's good for our citizens. It's good for SMR. It's good for Lakewood Ranch. I mean, there's nothing bad about this action. Thank you. And when you're ready, Mr. Chair, I'll be glad to make a motion.
Okay. Misty?
Thank you. Again, I'm just trying to understand the application. I don't have any objections necessarily. I'm just trying to understand. So because of the limited amount of information, I started doing a little research. And what I found was that in 2017, there was a report done that identified the number of acres in the stewardship district, the number of dwelling units, the infrastructure, and all of the things that you would have, just like a CDD, because they have taxing authority, I assume, like a CDD. I don't know. And so one of my questions is, does that report have to be modified now to include this acreage? Is that being done? Maybe it doesn't have to be done. So again,
Sure, what report you're referring to?
it was
I'll be happy to
approved
look
by
into
this
it.
board in 2017, and I think it was called
Taylor?
the Stewardship
Stewardship.
District. I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of it, but I just want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to protect SMR, to protect the people in the stewardship district, and to understand. I'm just trying to understand what we're approving. So, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Benak?
Yeah, and I would like to hear from the applicant, because what you bring up, it makes it even more concerning to me, because this is not a comprehensive plan amendment. We are not doing and yes, there will be a comprehensive plan amendment that will have to come forward before the J. Taylor property can be developed like Lakewood Ranch.
Exactly.
That will take a comprehensive plan amendment. That's not what we're doing today.
No.
We're expanding the stewardship district, and I'm glad that you brought that up. So the stewardship district presumably will have to be amended again today once they determine what the development levels they want on that property. But I would like to hear from the expert, because as I said, I am not an expert on CDDs. So their expert is here, the applicant. I think they have, I think we should hear from the applicant as to what they're proposing and what we're approving today.
I'd like to introduce Jonathan Johnson, SMR's Stewardship District Attorney from Tallahassee. I can't remember the firm name. He'll tell you.
I will. Good morning. Thank you. I'm Jonathan Johnson. I'm with Hopping Green and Sam's out of Tallahassee, and I serve as General Counsel to the Lakewood Ranch Stewardship District. Just to be clear, I represent the Stewardship District as an entity in the same way that your county attorney represents the county. So there are two landowners who are two groups of landowners who have brought forth this amendment, and they approached the Stewardship District first and asked my board to consider approving and seeking this amendment. The largest parcel is OFI, the Taylor family, who is working on a joint venture with SMR Farms. The second parcel is Neal Communities, as referenced, the balance of Indigo. Neal Communities is very involved in the Stewardship District as well and actually has representation on my board. So the things that you've said are all very correct. There is nothing about the action of the legislature that will change by one iota, and this is specified in the statute, the entitlements that are currently on the property, the comprehensive plan designation on the property. In fact, it states very clearly that the property will continue to be developed in accordance with all Manatee County rules, regulations, comprehensive plans, environmental regulations, et cetera. In the future, if to the extent that OFI and SMR Farms want to make a change, they'll have to file an application, and that will come through you. If you go back in time to 2005, the Stewardship District was created, and it was really a collaborative effort at the time between SMR, who was really the sole landowner of the property, the 20+ thousand acres that was put in, this county, Sarasota County, and the local legislative delegations. At the time, Lakewood Ranch was early in its development, and we had 6 community development districts that had been created. When we looked at the balance of the property and said, well, we're going to have, taking CDDs in chunks of 500 to 1,000 acres, we'll have more than 20 or 25 CDDs on this property. That's 100 to 120 elected officials. It's 100 different directors and officers' liability policies that have to be written. So there was an expense side to the landowner and ultimately to the constituents who buy their houses and move there. There was also a coordination element, and I think what was attractive to both Sarasota County and Manatee County at the time was having a single district point of contact for coordination, for negotiation of interlocal agreements, for dealing with large roadway and utility installations. And I think historically that's how that has played out. There are certainly documents that we have that describe the Stewardship District, and we will be updating them once the legislature takes action. So we have disclosure documents and recordings and so forth that we make and that we provide to your staff over time. I want to emphasize the main point, I think, which is that there is nothing about your lack of objection, which is what we're asking you to do. We're asking you not to object to a legislative proposal that has been approved by the Manatee delegation. Mm-hmm. Upon your lack of objection, they'll be able to move forward with filing a local bill that will make this amendment. Stewardship districts have been used around the state very selectively. If you look around, you would see Lakewood Ranch is obviously a large prime example. Ave Maria, Babcock Ranch down in Charlotte and Lee counties, Vieira over in Brevard County, and most recently in the last year or two, Sunbridge in Osceola County. And they are fit and established by the legislature for large, multi-thousand acre, multi-decade of development projects for the same reasons that were done here: coordination and cost savings. Also, there are some slightly differences in their powers from CDDs, but fundamentally, what we're in the business of doing is infrastructure delivery and community governance. So on behalf of my board, we're asking for your support, and we hope that you'll give it, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Commissioner Benak.
And certainly, I really appreciate that presentation, and certainly I understand the reason for it, and would never, ever question the success of Lakewood Ranch and their ability to provide infrastructure concurrent with development has been one of the bright spots in Manatee County, and certainly the success of that development. So I just want to say thank you for being here and answering questions.
Okay. Commissioner Whitmore.
And for those of us that were at the legislative session, Manatee delegation, you spoke right after Manatee County and brought this up. So
I did.
Yeah, so I mean, this has been brought up in the public in that arena.
Thank you. Commissioner Ball.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion. I know you probably have to open this to public comment first, but making a motion to authorize our chair to sign a letter to the legislative delegation in favor.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to sign the letter to Lakewood Ranch Stewardship District.
Discussion.
No, it's to the legislative delegation.
I'm sorry, right, to the legislative.
Right.
Wrong thing. So we'll open up for public comments. Anybody from the public that would like to talk on this subject? Seeing no one come forward, we will close public discussion. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Misty?
And I just want to thank you so much for the clarification, both of you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your efforts and hearing what I've heard and that is consistent with the comp plan and the statutes. I no longer have any questions and I don't object. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you, for your time and consideration.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Now we're down, I think, to Misty and her comments.
Oh, okay. And so I also was at the MPO. It was a great presentation and a great workshop. And yes, we've seen that growth may be slowing a bit here and impact fee revenue is slowing a bit, but it's just a blip in a long road ahead with lots of growth coming our way. So if it's slowing, it's not for long, I'm sure. I also had the pleasure this week of attending my first meeting with the Charlotte Harbor National Estuary Program. Great group, lots of good discussion, and there was a professor from the University of Miami there who gave an excellent presentation on red tide and the reasons for red tide. And I've actually talked with Nick of our staff about the possibility of him speaking to this board and to the public because it was just cutting edge technology and research that he's doing. That's it.
Mr. Palmer has a comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Momentarily, I'm going to forward to all of you a memo that my office authored in May of last year on the tourist development tax collection issue. I think we've already answered your questions. By virtue of the May 3rd, 2018 memo last year, we actually prepared an ordinance for your consideration that would eliminate the responsibilities of the tax collector in collecting the local bed tax and transfer that responsibility to the State Department of Revenue. For reasons that I do not recall right now, the board did not pursue that ordinance back in May of last year. We did recommend at the conclusion of our memo, quote, the board may wish to consider additional dialogue with the tax collector on this important matter before proceeding. Nevertheless, we, that being my office, stand ready to schedule and advertise a public hearing for consideration of the draft ordinance if so directed by the board. We never got that direction last year from the board. So I'm going to forward this packet to you momentarily that includes a memo authored by Assistant County Attorneys Zamboni and Clegg and signed off on by me with an attached draft ordinance. So yes, you can remove the tax collector from the picture. You can transfer collection responsibilities to the state DOR. The State Department of Revenue has, in fact, entered into an agreement with Airbnb. And as of May of last year, according to our memo, the DOR was collecting the bed tax on behalf of approximately 20 Florida counties.
Oh.
So, thanks to Bill Clegg for forwarding that to me. I did not have a crystal clear memory of the work that we had done in May of last year. So we've already done the work that you just asked for.
So you're sending it to us.
The word finish would have been good.
Yeah, it's up to the board to finish it.
But I think it's because the tax collector after that met with us, and then I don't think we went any.
The tax collector wrote a letter that's part of this package that I'm about to forward to you momentarily, saying that as long as we removed all references to his involvement from our ordinance, then that was, that was something he would live with. But also on the very day that he sent us that letter is when he filed his lawsuit against Airbnb, and I was reminded of that as well. So the lawsuit remains pending, although frankly, if the board were to proceed forward with the ordinance and transfer the responsibility to the DOR, that would probably moot the tax collector's lawsuit.
Right. Vanessa.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that I did, Mickey and I were kind of talking about that just a few minutes ago, and it's probably when you get the package and you read the memo, we probably should, out of respect for our great tax collector, either have our chairman or a workshop on this, and talk to the tax collector one more time before we change what we're doing. But anyway, I knew that the county attorney's office had worked on this in the past, so I was really glad Mickey found that. So do you want me to go ahead with my comments now? I got a few, and I apologize. I don't normally.
Rather break for lunch and come back at
No, it won't take that long.
That was I figured I'd fire.
It won't take that long. Thank you, but no. I'd like to be done. You were all just sent an email. Betsy and Misty both talked about the transportation workshop that we were at yesterday, and there was an awful lot of information. And but in our MPO joint meeting with Charlotte County, one of the things that came up is that Charlotte County has been working toward trying to make I-75 a Purple Heart roadway. So they forwarded me the information yesterday afternoon, and I just had it sent to you so that perhaps we can have a discussion on it if you should like down the road. I just wanted to make sure that we all had the same information.
What does that mean?
It would just be a designation that would be put on signs on 75 that, it's a Purple Heart. It's just showing respect. Once you read the paperwork that's sent to you, you'll have a much, much better understanding. I just also wanted to mention it was great, a lot of good information, but also Dave Sanford at the port gave a presentation, and he was very good. So I just wanted you to know about that. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I will be on the road going to Orlando for an MPOAC meeting tomorrow afternoon. But while I'm on the road, I'm going to be multitasking because I'm also going to be on a conference call with the White House on trade, and that's coming under the federal committee with FAC. I don't, just to kind of fill you guys in, NAFTA, our president had been working toward a new, trying to revise NAFTA. But the problem with it is that our farmers here in Florida, I know Priscilla is very aware of this, our farmers here in Florida, we're not really getting a fair shake on all that. So FAC has been, the federal committee has been involved in that, and I'm sure that's what, if we're going to talk about trade, I'm sure it's going to be about NAFTA tomorrow, so I'll let you know what comes from that. The COG meeting, I got an email while we were in this meeting, it's going to be huge. All fire districts are going to be attending today, so.
They did last time.
Yeah, so I sent an email to Diane to let her know to have more tables set up, so it's going to be interesting. And last but not least, I know there are several of us who've already signed up to go to D.C. in April. We have a meeting scheduled on the day that we need to leave. What?
Go ahead. I was going to say I was going to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I take your thunder?
As usual.
Sorry. Sorry. I didn't. You should have gone. You know, I didn't know.
No.
Our chairman will finish that conversation when we get to him about the need to change the date of a commission meeting. And Mr. Chair, that's all I have, so you've got a few minutes.
Yeah, that's the only thing I had was, we do have a regular meeting scheduled for April 9th, and I think most of us we're hoping to use that as a travel day to Washington. So with everybody's approval, I'm looking to cancel that date. Should something come up that, that we need to meet on, I always have the authority to call a special meeting, either prior to or shortly thereafter. So I don't know if I need a motion to cancel that meeting or just tell the public that, there'll be no meeting on April 9th that had been posted in our annual schedule of meetings. And that's all I have. I think Vanessa's got.
Mr. Chairman, the county attorney just is going like this to you, that you do need a motion. So I'm going to make a motion to remove the commission meeting on April the 9th.
Second.
Discussion?
Got a motion and a second. Commissioner Whitmore?
That's fine, but we're always hooked on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If we need to have the meeting like the Monday before you guys go, staff has always been reluctant to have a meeting when we needed one if it wasn't on a Tuesday or Thursday, and then sometimes our meetings are torturous because they're so long. But I don't think that the commissioners would object that if there has something that you could put in an agenda or not, they just don't like to do that. But I don't think we're here. We get paid to be here. So if we have to have it another day before you leave, we could.
Well, the chairman has that option.
If it's important, we could have it the Monday before you leave.
Staff will work with the chair to figure out if you need a meeting.
Ed won't be here.
I might not be available.
He said, yes.
Others will be here, and they'll work with the chair to see if they're.
25 degrees in Washington on Thursday, just to let you know.
You're not going Thursday.
We're not going Thursday.
Thank goodness.
I got my fur coat.
I don't have one good enough for that.
You have a motion, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion and a second. Need to open it up for public comment. Anybody would like to discuss our scheduling? Please come forward. If not, we'll close public comment. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. And with that, meeting adjourned.
I'm not allowed to do a job.